Alright, how are we all? Thank you, Naomi, and thank you, Rick Side, for the donation. Much appreciated. Hey, Dad. Alright, so we got two things in the docket today, and potentially a theory thing if we get to that point. We will be doing it later in the week, but we can do it now. If you reach... There it is. If we get up to 100. Otherwise, we have an annoying thing, a very, very annoying thing to go over, but then a less annoying thing by the worst person you know. So that's going to be today otherwise. E minus, good day to you as well. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Okay. Here we go. We have the Hunter Evelyn side of it. You know what? I'm actually just going to look at the Cherry Kick VOD. I'd like the whole thing. Just picky that way.
Because they thought that...
No, I don't care about you. Let's see. A day ago, Pac-Man, Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, this must have been a day ago. This must be it. This is 7 hours long. This must have it somewhere. We'll take a quick look through. Did you see on, thank you, Thumb, for the $5. Did you see on January 6th that the chief of the JCS called the protesters Nazis? I think Adam and Sitch will tone police, or do you think Adam and Sitch will tone police him too? I don't know what that's referring to be totally honest. Who were they tone policing previously? It's par for the course with them, but I generally don't expect anything from those two. So I'm not ever disappointed. Alright. Here we go. So this is... this is the... Kick VOD. Where's the... Lovely.
Very clear.
Okay, there's that. There's that.
Though she might understand that there's a difference between online and...
This must be it. Okay, so it must be... somewhere in here. Is that eudaimonia or is that another... Oh, it's Hunter. Okay. There's another purple person with sunglasses. We are super original today, aren't we? Alright. I guess we start here.
In the space before? I have heard of them. I've never...
Her.
Oh, her. Oh my god. Okay. I'm not a mind reader. But no, we've never engaged before, so I will... Better to learn now than later.
Well...
You know how mad I am, Sherry, when I saw that apparently they're all mad at your tweet, and I just got called in as backup to defend you? I didn't even know what tweet you made at the time. I had to go check and be like, God damn, did you say some dumb shit that I'm gonna have to fight for?
No, it's not even about my tweet. It's gonna be about the Anna and Vaush situation. My tweet was more so about Keffel's just I don't know, laughing about Anna blocking her.
I would love to debate with Haffles.
No, that's not something I'm setting up. But
Wait, I'm gonna grab water. I'll be back though in like 5
go
minutes.
for it.
Less.
It's over.
It is
Is
so
my
over.
camera backwards?
It's actually just over.
It's so
Sinthe
over.
is here. It's over. It's actually just over. It's over.
real.
Sinthe is literally at this point. At this point,
It's over.
Sinthe is one of my orbiters. I'm
Have
kidding.
you guys
You're my orbiter. Fuck, pipe down.
have you guys been on a panel before? I am assuming. Which panel? Or what was the last thing you guys talked about?
Oh, me and Food Chops on transracialism.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We can get through this. Okay.
Can we? Are you okay?
I didn't know who was gonna be on the panel
Yep.
before.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah,
You
you did.
said you were looking for people.
Food Chops was like, oh my god, Syntha's gonna be there? Time to orbit.
No, I didn't
Yeah,
know
you
who
did.
was gonna be on the panel.
Yeah, you
Okay.
did.
I'll be back. 1 second, guys.
Imagine being intimidated by Hunter all alone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I do not know, and you guys can tell me, but should I be concerned about doing a panel topic on Vaush and Anna if it's going to touch trans issues? I think we'll keep it. I think we'll keep this up on Twitch. And if anything happens, you can join us over on Kick. Okay. Thank you. And also, you guys should just join us over there anyway. Otherwise, everyone's here. Everyone here that's going to be on here is fine to be on. Also, let me not do that fucking sign. They're going to be fine to be on Kick. I mean, Twitch. Fuck.
True.
It's the Quran. All right. Okay, I shouldn't put my elbow on the Quran like that, but
Okay, Double
You
Shine.
shouldn't.
Double Shine's going to join on camera when he gets back with water.
I'm here. Hello. I'll turn it on.
Synth, do you go on camera?
Okay, I'm up. Yeah, I got
Okay,
you.
cool. And this is my
Okay.
first time meeting you.
What's up?
have you never hosted? Is this the first time Hunter Avalon is on a cherry panel?
I've only started hosting panels last week. So I
Oh,
think
okay,
I think
so
we
this
know
is-
of each other in this space, but we've never been on a panel before.
Okay. It's Jover.
It is. That's what they've been saying.
It's actually just Jover.
And since
It's actually
before
just joke.
I
Please,
get
for the
into
love of God,
opening
skip
anything,
the theory,
can
people.
you
Someone.
just summarize for me?
I'm already in pain.
You are
Okay.
a Vaush empathizer in this situation. Are you a Vaush fan?
Me?
A Vaush
Yeah,
viewer?
In this situation, I am a Vaush empathizer. I've debated Vaush before, and I generally don't agree with most of what he says, but I think he's right here.
Okay.
Synth and I had a rocky
And I
start, but
think
he's.
Double Shine.
Actually, I think Synth goes by she.
You are
I'm
Anna-
a hard Anna simp.
You're hard, Anison.
To that
Who
before.
thought
Okay.
that I was gonna say something retarded that you had to defend?
No, I got mad because I didn't know what your tweet was, and then I was like, "Oh, if they have problems with her tweet, I might have problems with her tweet too."
What?
But
I
no, your
never-
tweet was safe. It's good.
I never tweet anything bad. What are you talking about?
What? Am I
I don't know
gonna
about
end
that
up-
one, Sherry.
Am I gonna end up disagreeing with Double Shine as well?
Exactly.
What the fuck?
Shai
I feel
Halot's
like-
my Saki Tanuki.
Wait. Oh
You
shit.
better.
Wait, what would you
May
disagree with
May
me
is
on?
passing
You
You
don't
Come
said
to
even
the
you're
world.
you're an Anna supporter.
I am,
Good job.
but it's not like I don't have nuanced positions or.
Oh
what
my
the
god.
fuck.
Oh
Game
my
just made a
God, she's a-
microaggression
Wait,
against
what?
me.
This is a Trojan
Wait,
horse.
what? Am I the only person
Yes,
She
it's a
called
she.
herself an
What?
she called herself an Anna
I
supporter
am.
just to get in here.
Overall,
Oh
yeah.
my-
Overall, yeah.
My apologies.
No, I
Synth.
understand it. I
That's
understand
fucked
that
What the fuck?
most people have a mixed take on it, and we're completely fine. Well, I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah, in order to be a content creator, you have to have extreme black or white.
Oh, by the way.
Oh.
Apparently, I don't know how recent this actually is because it was recommended by Google, but apparently there was a new worm discovered that they named Shai-Hulud something. Worm discovered named after Dune worm. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this month, so check out this. This is much more interesting. 500 million year old worm named after giant sandworms in Dune. It's inspired the naming of a new species of ancient sea worm, the Shai-Huludia shurikeni. Like, look at this thing. Just look at this thing. It's just like... It doesn't look anything like the Dune sandworm. This is a fucking scam. Okay. Back to the program.
Hot take, there are things Anna has said that I disagree with, so let's just clear the air there.
Whoa,
Yeah, I
you can't
think
say that.
everyone-
What the fuck? That's not part of the script.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
well, yeah,
there
that's why off the script.
unfortunately there are things that Vaush has said that I agree with. So it just, you know what? It catches
me.
us on both sides.
Absolutely. Like his takes on Portugal is pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna be right back.
I don't know what that take is.
Oh no, you haven't heard the Portugal take? Yikes.
Oh wait, I feel like I do know this one. Something was decriminal. What was decriminalized? Drug use?
Yeah, basically like all drugs, they do criminalize.
Yeah, drug use. But was it Vaush who just wanted to ignore the recent data on it?
Okay, I want to go
and
far.
pretend
I
like
want to go
everything is
to
so
that
wonderful,
island over
like
there.
it was in the beginning.
I mean, I think so, but I mean, I disagree with the framing there because I think it's okay. But
Oh, thank you, Rixai. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Totally fine.
yeah, I think
fantastic,
that's
though.
where it largely started from, right? Was
It was a
the
reaction.
Portugal decriminalization.
I believe it was also a reaction to Anna Kasparian giving her updated take on Portugal,
Yeah, right.
and just that being in the line of things that she's under fire for, because now people like are watching her with a very close lens looking for fascism.
Rixai has actually been extremely generous lately. I'm going to give
Vaush
them
is really good at
a
spotting that.
veto at will.
We're just waiting for Hunter.
He's in the waiting room.
Okay.
True, Naomi.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up, Hunter?
Yo,
I am very sorry, but I only have one camera currently.
You are
Is that
fine.
okay?
You approach a hooded figure.
If you don't want to go on camera, you're okay.
Well, it's not that I don't want to. It's
It's just that you're hideously ugly, we all know. Alright. You approach a hooded figure swathed in dark blue robes, their faces barely visible. Fishermen, please help. You can barely hear their rasping whisper above the wind and waves. Fulfill the hunger of Shia LaBeouf. The hooded figure unfurls an old paper scroll. They point to a shape down at the top. Shown at the top, sorry. It appears to be a blue mackerel. Oh, I need to get a blue mackerel, I see. Okay, never mind. Alright. Sorry, I just had to indulge my impulse there. Let's press on.
just that the only other cameras being used by my software to stream.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you can't make it work, that's fine.
Alright, hold on.
Did you see my DM?
Yours?
Yeah, I DM'd you on Discord.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. It'll just kind of depend how things go, I think.
Yeah, you can just message me to keep me updated.
Okay. All right, hold on one second.
Okay. They are too white in Portugal. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Sirius. I hadn't even thought of that. Water is toxic to the sandworms. They die instantly in it. In fact, at various points in the series, they use water to kill the sandworms to extract, like a special, super intense type of spice to see the future. So yeah, that's awful, actually. Oh, damn shame.
Listen, Hunter, don't be mad.
he just left.
But,
oh, you're talking in an empty room.
He's not here?
Yeah, sorry.
That you sound
Well,
crazy right now.
Well, I moderated between Ben Thorpe and Kingston, so don't be mad at that, okay?
Oh my god, this is going to be hell, isn't
Anyway,
it?
that's a lot to take in, but don't worry about it, okay?
Those are like the two worst people. They disagreed on something?
They forced themselves to disagree on something, but then in the end, Ben Thorpe was too racist, and then Kingston was driven out of the debate space. So good job, Ben. Okay, all right, you driven somebody pretty bad out of the debate space. So good job.
Ben W, I guess?
Yeah, Ben
Making room
W.
for
all
Ben.
right?
Ben Thorpe W.
So what happened
Real
was
idol.
that Ben called me beforehand to come in 15 to 30 minutes to moderate for a panel. And
Also, why are you holding us and yourself hostage with this boring-ass shit? Well, I'm not going to hold you hostage with, like, the engaging material, am I? That would defeat the purpose. Besides, I was actually invited onto this panel. I kind of want to see how bad it was. Apparently, Hunter left within an hour.
and I didn't want to, but he was like, "Oh, I'll get you on Jesse Lee Peterson or something like that." And I'm like, "Do you have proof? Do you have verification that you can get me on JLP?" And he's like, you don't know how the game works, do you, Chinese boy? And I'm like,
What?
Jesus. What?
and I'm like, no, I know how the game works, and all I know is that, you know, you're not trustworthy and stuff, you know what I mean? And yeah, anyway,
Okay.
I have it all recorded. Anyway, the point is, all right, let's continue.
I just want to
this
let you
works here.
guys know how this, how my format is, and hopefully you enjoy it, because I think it is the first time for 3 of you.
Okay, finally,
So
it's starting.
I'd like to give an introduction.
It's
to all
starting
the
now,
people
serious.
that
You
are
haven't
gonna
even
be on the
donated.
panel.
Calm down.
I will give a short one for you, and I will summarize what we're talking about and try to give both sides of the argument in a quick summary, and pass it off to somebody that I know is strongly opinionated. And from there, we will just get into a discussion. So we're not going to do opening statements. Nobody has to summarize their position or beliefs beforehand. And hopefully, so far, it's fostered a more natural conversation and debate about these topics. But you will, at the end of 1 hour, if it's not a bad time to break the conversation. I'm starting to learn that maybe giving an extra 10 minutes is okay. If after 1 hour we are all set to go, I will end the topic and give you all a closing statement, and then you can shout yourselves out as well. And you are welcome to
So
stay.
I'm live at the moment. Is it okay that this is if I'm streaming on my stream or?
Yes, of course.
Right now I have it muted, so.
No, you can stream now.
Okay, cool.
That's perfectly fine.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so after 1 hour, everyone will get a closing statement and to shout yourselves out. And staying after that is completely optional, but I'll open up the panel. I've messaged a couple people if they're interested in joining for the topic that are on board to join afterwards. Anyway, if there are no questions, we're all good?
Not on the
Yeah.
inside.
Great. So thank you for joining my impromptu last minute panel. Today I have Double Shine, Food Shops, also known as Food Stamps, Sinthe, and Hunter Avalon joining
Oh, Food
today to
Stamps. They
discuss
were gonna
the
talk to me
recent
tomorrow.
Anna and Vaush
Okay,
feud
I
that's
didn't know
been
they were in
going on
this.
Twitter. This all started after Anna Kasparian was kind of put under
on.
fire
Which one's
by the
Food
left
Stamps?
for her
Is that Food
appearance
Stamps there?
on Adam and Stitch's podcast, where she walked back some of her beliefs and voiced some of her criticisms of the online left that has gotten.
Wait, Cherry messaged you Sunday? Yeah, I was supposed to be on this one, but she was looking for somebody on the pro-Anna side, which I am very much not, so.
That community upset and
I recommended she reach out to Poly people, because I thought that would have been funny, but Poly chickened out.
disappointed to hear her echo some.
Oh, Rickside, don't go against your financial judgment, okay? Oh, okay, it's just fine? Good. But seriously, guys, I appreciate it. It means the world to me. It does keep the lights on and everything, but do not hurt yourselves to donate to the channel. There will be theory, I promise. I don't roll that way, okay? The theory will be later as opposed to sooner. So I'm still extorting you, but I want you guys to be okay as well. Thank you, Rickside. That's extremely kind of you. Rickside's also donated a lot behind the scenes as well, so I don't want to, we'll just eyeball that one. Okay.
Statements that they feel
Thank you,
are
Rickside.
transphobic or that align or mirror things that people that are transphobic say. Since then, their feud has not died down and has devolved and snowballed into now sharing clips.
Those are not mutually
clip
exclusive
chimping
tequila.
each other, and really just continuing down the line of messy that not everyone agrees is even or equal or even warranted in this situation, as Anna Kasparian is still viewed as very much on the left and very much a supporter of trans people and trans rights. I did want to go ahead and start with Sinthe, as you were one of the people who I saw on Twitter really not see things from the point of view of the Anna sympathizers and more so the Vaush side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I think that Anna's view is, and not only her view, but also her behavior afterwards has been kind of retarded. She's said that it's uncalled for and like totally out of the like unhinged is how she described it. for Vaush to call her retarded and a bitch, but I think it's totally understandable if somebody's gonna like, if you're gonna go out and say retarded shit, people are gonna call you retarded. It's fine. Saying that somebody is a drug addict, I feel like it's a much larger accusation, especially when it's meant to be sort of serious.
This game is cool. It's fantastic. It's called Dredge.
Vaush responded by saying something like, Anna is insinuating I'm a drug addict because she thinks I'm homeless or something, which is kind of like a funny joke. It seems kind of reasonable. Then Anna responds by lying about something Vaush said in a clip, a sort of like normal politician type lie, where she takes this clip of Vaush, I'm sure we've seen it before, and when she says that online LGBT
at least says a
communities
person
are a
of
cancer,
taste.
which she's
Thank
correct
you.
about.
The
They are, in
$2.
fact. Online LGBT communities are a cancer. I'm part of them. I know they're cancers. And says that like that this is in a similar way to like the I think Coolsville sucks kind of meme. Anna kind of describes Vaush's position as like thinking that LGBT communities are cancers.
This is true when it's funny.
Online LGBT communities very
We'll see
different
about
from
this
the LGBT
one.
communities as a whole. Online LGBT communities are a very small
bad.
subsection of them, and they are cancerous, even if the majority of LGBT people aren't. The weird way in which Anna has continuously lied about Vaush's views, the weird way that Anna has continuously mischaracterized the other side's views, and the weird way that she has mischaracterized reality by sort of presenting this view of using the term birthing person as though it's some kind of like categorical claim that we should never use the term woman. It's a little ridiculous. I think she's kind of being, as Vaush described it, retarded and a bitch.
Okay, and anybody can chime in at this point, if nobody has
no,
something
don't worry, I'm
specific
just,
to say.
I'm just writing down Sim's positions. Don't
Yeah, I was
bother.
just going to the point. I guess we can go one by one. I think the first thing you said that it's fine to call her retarded and a bitch.
Yep.
Do you think that that's like? Do you think that they might take offense to that and they just don't want to speak to somebody who calls them that?
I think that you not wanting to speak to somebody who calls to, I obviously still want to speak to Vaush. I'm not sure if you're asking, does she want to? I think that it's unjustified for her to not want to. I think that saying that person called me retarded, so I'm not going to debate them. Well, that's fine. You can say that like you don't want to do that, but it's not like you're justified in doing that because you had a conversation with Ben Shapiro, who's out there saying that like Arabs like to bomb shit and live in sewage. So clearly somebody saying something that's uncouth isn't like putting them off your radar. I think the real reason is she doesn't want to have a conversation with anyone on this issue because she's wrong about it. It was a retarded view that she has the counter arguments against because she's ran those counter arguments in the past and she hasn't responded to any of those counter arguments.
No, I think it's pretty fair to say that somebody's gonna go out and call you like a dumb white woman, dumb white bitch, white woman, Karen, retard.
Now I have a chance to $2. If we do get theory, what will we be covering? We have some options. We can go into more biology stuff. There's a couple of papers on. There's stuff. I'll give you guys options when we get there.
Like he's called her this so many times. I think it's perfectly fair for her to be like, yeah, I don't want to platform this guy. I don't want to have a convo.
Why would it be an issue to platform somebody who calls you retarded?
Sorry, real quick, if I could finish, because I think one of the most important things is that this section of like online debatey stuff, where like you're going around and calling people retarded and stuff like that. I think it's.
I hate people who argue like this. Hang on, let me finish. Proceeds to just make something up to justify continuing speaking. It's actually obnoxious. He's not making a point.
It doesn't appeal to a broader audience, and Vaush has even said that for a lot of other content creators just won't interact with him because he is edgy and because he does say like crazy shit like that.
Hold on, those are wildly different claims. But you're just rambling, Double Shine. We have to be able to get in and like actually respond to this. You are right. You've already said so. You've already said so much. You're so wrong. Yeah, you had plenty of opportunities to jump in, right? But like, so just to be super clear.
Okay, fine. I'll cut you off.
Listen, I understand. You guys both
interrupt me immediately.
Please, I'm gonna mute. Okay, just when I talk, just let me rein it in. You both have disagreements, but I do want to let Food Chops hop in before you guys get down to the weeds a bit. Go ahead, Food Chops.
Wait. First of all, is Hunter Avlo here? I haven't heard him talk this entire time.
Sorry, I'm here. I'm just waiting till there's something for me to jump on.
Okay, yeah. So I would just like to attack Sim's position one by one. So when Vaush was talking about like the entire homeless thing and like the clip of thing, wasn't it, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Wasn't Anna Kasparian like sexually assaulted by like a homeless person, or is this misinformation?
What is the sexual assault you're referring to? I know that homeless story with
Is
Anna.
this misinformation?
Do you mean
that did happen, and that feels like that's what the joke was. The joke wasn't just she's scared of homeless people. The joke was she got sexually assaulted by a homeless person.
Yeah, you just called him a drug addict. So of course he's gonna call you a.
Hold on.
Make fun of the fact he's like a drug
addict
I'm just
who has no history of drug addiction is a lot,
I'm just trying to verify a fact right now. Okay, that's all I'm trying to do.
What's Vaush's history of drug addiction?
No, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have a history of drug addiction.
I'm just trying to verify a fact right now.
Look, if you get in the mud, yeah, that's true. That's fine. Like if you get in the mud, then somebody else is gonna get in the mud back.
This is a violently stupid reach. Drug abuse is rampant in the homeless population. This is trivially obvious, everybody knows this. To draw the connection between her fear of being homeless people is immaterial. The sexual assault account, which must be taken seriously as a matter of course, was notably only deployed in a context in which she was trying to attack homeless people as a group and to drum up fear against them. This is not an appeal for justice. Nobody is actually countering a claim of sexual assault. Certainly not simply. This is somebody who was specifically using that account only, as far as I am aware, as a weapon against the homeless population to defend her position on homeless people should be de facto removed from these urban areas because they are gross and scary. That's basically it. So this is an absurd reach. It's just absurd. There's no way there. Like here's the thing. If this debate was about, or let's say, if the Vaush response was towards her avowing the sexual assault by the two homeless people, then you could make this point. You could say, well, hang on, are you saying this is not real? Are you saying da-da-da-da? Are you mocking an account of a sexual assault taking place? In that context, this would make an eminent amount of sense, because the response would be directly imputing that account. If an account that has only been given at a separate occasion to foment fear against the homeless population is now being leveraged after the fact to construe a critique of further attacks on the homeless population as being an attack on her sexual assault account, that's underhanded. That's gross. Does that make sense? That's where we're at here. So not too great. It's just pretty slimy. And this is like a case in point. The fact that Anna Kasparian made that claim should not be treated as a blank check to valorize every single anti-homeless statement she makes. That's how it's being used. That's the problem here. So really, when you take the sexual assault account that Anna Kasparian gave, there's two claims side by side that are being given to you. There's the avowal by itself of the sexual assault, and you have to take that seriously. There's no way to verify this. She was there by herself. It was not reported. We don't know who did it. You can only take it seriously. Then there's the additional one, and this is the claim with something else appended to it, which is, by the way, while you're criticizing me for attacking the homeless population, I was sexually assaulted randomly in the street by two homeless people. Therefore, you should be equally afraid of the homeless population, and you should actually agree with me that they need to be removed from civilization, from our parks, from our streets, from our cities, etc., etc. That is a very different statement, and they come together, and they're being used together in order to weaponize the reflexive ethical defense of this one to valorize this one, and they're very different. This is like the worst gesture possible. I should never do that again. Okay.
I can start slinging insults at you. The sexual assault that we're talking about is like, what, did she get jerked off?
Let's see. It's not related to her sexual assault. She deserves the anti-homeless reputation. Yeah, I agree. What my issue here is that the sexual assault allegation is being used to valorize all of her anti-homeless takes. And the worst part is, Anna was doing that herself. This came up in conversation to defend her anti-homeless takes. So, once again, like, you have an additional claim being slid in there, right? So you have the sexual assault claim, and then you have the claim that is, this represents the homeless population, or this represents a threat that should be treated like animals in the wild. There are these undesirable pests that are swarming our cities. We need to send in men with guns to make them go away. Would you apply the same logic to POC who use standpoint epistemology, though? I'm not much in favor of standpoint epistemology when it comes to justifying particular interventions. Standpoint epistemology, by which I take you to mean listening to people's avowals of their experience from a particular point of view that you lack, is important to getting critical first-person understanding of what a situation is like for other people. Because there are going to be soft little things in your environment and in your life that are going to affect you in ways that other people who don't share your positionality are not going to feel the sting of. One that comes up quite a bit is like, the kind of discourse you see about like familial issues in certain ethnic groups in the United States, right? I'm not going to specify, but we'll run with that. It may indeed be the case that there are behavioral tendencies in certain groups in certain places that an outsider can look in and see and say, hey, this seems to correspond to something kind of like negative in terms of overall outcomes. Maybe this is a thing that, you guys should stop. If you're not somebody who's affected by the things that cause that tendency, that's a deeply arrogant and inappropriate thing to say to a person, certainly in public, and certainly as the basis of, for example, arguing for denying services to that community. However, if you're a part of that community, it's absolutely appropriate to, for example, tell your children, you need to make sure X, Y, and Z. That's where like standpoint epistemology would matter. It's more in terms of the epistemological limitations of people on the outside than privileging the epistemological positions of people on the inside when making policy decisions. Does that make sense? I feel like that was a clunky way to describe it, but let me know if that answers your question.
If it's true that Anna has been sexually assaulted by a homeless person before, and Vaush already knew this, then him making this tweet is probably not very okay.
No, that's kind of weak. That's kind of weak, dude. I'm sorry. That's not a good argument. Once again, like, regardless, frankly, even if that account was given just now, I'm sorry, you don't just have your positions on the homeless are not purified by you having been a victim of some unspecified representatives of the group. That's not how that works. I'm sorry. Sirius says, properly construed, standpoint epistemology doesn't need to avow people's standpoints. It can be analysis instead of judgment. Yeah, but presumably it's an analysis that leverages a view from the standpoint in question, right? So, yeah, this is kind of desperate.
You get, like, I can totally see she got her ass grabbed by a homeless person, right?
Also,
that's what happened?
What?
She got her ass grabbed by a homeless person, right? She didn't get like held down and raped.
Homeless person. Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to make light of that. But I guess I was under the impression that the controversy was more around the clip.
Okay, so bad move by Sinthe. Good move by Hunter, surprisingly. Like, yeah. Anyways, moving on.
That Anna tried to leak in order to, I guess, attack Vaush as a transphobe. I guess, are we on the he called Anna a bitch thing, or are we on the clip that she actually shared of him?
I think the way that Anna and the rest of TYT, the way they're sharing clips is disingenuous. I totally agree with that, right? Because I was a Vaush fan in the past, and the way I sort of see at it, is that the way Vaush talked about these things is definitely like, I understand where he's coming from, absolutely, right? Because
which
right?
thing, the trans thing?
Yeah, the specific trans thing is like the LGBT communities are cancerous and whatever, right? Sorry
to cut you off, but he specifically said the online LGBT community.
Let people respond back to you, okay?
Which, let's be honest, is an overreach, but you can kind of understand it.
I need that to happen. Go ahead, Hunter. No, I'm saying for others to let you respond back to them.
Okay. Oh, squids! Evil
sharing
squids.
the clip said
the
that
best
Vaush
kinds of squids.
The LGBT community is cancer. When he did not say that, he specifically said the online LGBT
that's what I
said.
Is
cancer,
that's what
which
I said.
is a big difference because all online communities can be toxic, and the LGBT community is not exempt from that.
Okay.
Is that the extent of it? It's just
Be
you're
precise.
just
Don't
saying
mean that,
online
okay?
LGBT,
Say
but
that.
Otherwise, it's totally fair.
No,
The
I'm
online
mad that
LGBT
she
we don't even
specifically
disagree on this. We don't even disagree on this.
She lied by admission.
I think she
Yes,
just
she
said the
did.
LGBT
She
instead
said,
of the
What's in my
she
cargo
said
hold?
that Vaush said the LGBT community is cancer. Do you think there's a difference between the LGBT community and the online LGBT community?
I think
There
there's
is
a difference, but I don't think that differentiating that discredits the fact that what he said was like pretty inflammatory. It was pretty harsh,
What he said was
pretty
correct.
rude.
But what
He
he
was
said
right.
about the online LGBT
Just-
community was correct. If he had said that about the actual LGBT community, he would have been incorrect. So there is actually a crucial distinction there.
I will
No,
say,
there's-
listen, one moment, just to keep us on page and to keep this productive. The online LGBT community is something that is acknowledged and known
I've made a terrible
by the
mistake.
online space.
We need to go this way.
So I don't
That
know
is a
if her saying
tentacle.
that.
Ugh!
I don't know if that's intentional, unintentional, but it does seem like the only people who would know that there's a difference there are the people who are online. I don't think that there's a distinction made by people outside of these online spaces.
That's totally not true. He
Because
said it
anybody
verbatim
in the
online.
real
Everyone
world knows
understands
that there's
it.
a massive difference between the online community of virtually anything versus the
I
real
don't
world
know.
space.
Everyone
Yeah,
knows that.
there's a
yeah.
I
huge separation
disagree.
there.
I think if
How do
you're
you
not
think-
engaged in these spaces,
Wait,
you would
how do you
not be
think
able
that
to
people are?
differentiate
Do you
if
think that
somebody
there's
said
such a
that.
thing as like furries and crazy furry community
Yeah, but if you told me that
online?
the
But then when you
online
talk,
furry
wait,
community
stop.
is
Then when you-
cancer, I would
stop,
assume
stop,
you're
stop.
talking about the
But then-
furry community. I would
but
not
then when you
differentiate
no,
that.
no. Do you think there's a difference between the crazy furries that spend all day online
double shine
in
bloke
these
is
like
not too
Reddit
bright.
spaces versus like a furry you might meet on the street? There's probably
Yeah,
going to be a bit
no,
of a difference
I wouldn't
there.
be able to
See you,
tell.
serious.
If somebody said that the online furries are like pedophiles, I would not really be able to tell the difference between online furries and regular furries that I meet on the street because I don't really interact with that many.
That's kind of
Okay,
dumb.
well, I think that it's pretty obvious that there's a
wait,
distinction
no,
between
no,
the LGBT
wait,
community
Let me stop,
online
let me talk,
versus
let me talk. Ah! Stop. Okay, stop.
Whoa.
Wait,
I
food
totally
chop? No,
understand.
food chop. I just need you to not throw a tantrum to get the mic,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
We can't keep that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Listen. So the thing is, I can totally understand how like in real life people don't really interact with these communities too often, so they can't tell the difference between like an online and an in real life difference between these two, right?
I agree,
at the
Gabrielle.
same time, Anna Kasparian is a political commentator.
Is an
I would
abomination.
expect somebody like Anna Kasparian to know the difference between like an online aspect of a community versus the in real life aspect of a community. However, in that specific clip, Vaush, I think Vaush only mentions like the difference between the online and the in real life aspect like only a few times. So I guess it can be easily missed. So
No,
if she
come
was
on,
very
that's
new-
insane.
No, you are literally disproving your own point. So if you think that Anna Kasparian is that smart, then she should have fucking differentiated. And the clip she posted, literally you hear him saying,
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying she should have
LGBT
differentiated.
community. There is a difference between the Twitter woke-tards versus your average everyday LGBT person. who's
You're
living their
assuming
life.
as if I'm disagreeing with you, but I'm partially agreeing with you. I am assigning some degree of responsibility to Anna Kasparian. I'm saying that, like, as a professional political commentator, I think that some of the responses, like, a lot of
I am so glad I wasn't on this panel. Dear God.
responsibility lies on her in that specific instance, that she should have differentiated between the online and the in real life, like, differences. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. And I think
Okay,
we are.
all
on the
right.
same page.
I don't
I'm
think
really
we
curious.
disagree
Is
too
the
much. I
only-
don't think we disagree too much there.
Is the only point of contention that you have is that she said LGBT community instead of online LGBT community?
Well, no,
it?
but that's part of a big problem that I have with it because that is dishonest and it does make a big
don't-
difference. It
I
does.
don't think she intentionally did that to like lie about it, and I don't believe that.
If
Okay.
if she
I
wasn't
don't
going to
know
lie
how
by
you
admission,
possibly
she
Wait,
would
wait,
agree
wait.
with
that,
We
Vaush.
just
but-
heard from Food Stamps a minute ago about how Anna Kasparian is a professional.
I disagree.
Anna
I don't
Kasparian
think
is a
so.
professional political commentator, so I think that I can trust her. You know,
No, I don't.
I think that she should be doing. She should be honest there. I think if she cares about
But
truthful information.
again, what Double Shine is saying here isn't that she's lying intentionally. So it's not that you
Intent is
lost your
irrelevant.
trust. It's the
Here's the
fact
fuck.
that whether
Intention is everything
Thank
when
you,
it comes to
Tequila.
Wait,
lying.
okay, then
Hunter.
Vaush wasn't meant to be intentionally transphobic in the clip. Now what? Does it? Does it just?
No, I think
is
he
it-
said
is
some
it
stuff
still-
that is still
Yeah.
transphobic.
Name one thing
This
he
is
said
what I
not
mean. Is
clip.
I think-
intent doesn't
Yeah, I
actually
think
matter,
that when he
especially
says
in
that
this
he
context. I'm
despises-
sorry.
Yeah, so I think when he says he despises them and they're as detrimental as Nazis.
Them being who?
them being probably the online LGBT community.
What's transphobic about that?
I think at that point he was specifically
I despise them. I'm trans. What's transphobic about that?
Okay, hold on. I don't care if you're trans.
What's transphobic about it?
If you're saying the online trans people are as detrimental as Nazis, I think that's a pretty extreme statement that could be seen as transphobic.
Why is it transphobic? Not can it be seen as
different from
Why
transphobic statement?
Because I think comparing them to Nazis who are genociding people is a pretty fucking crazy statement.
Why is it transphobic? Not why do you think it's crazy? Why is it transphobic?
Saying it's crazy. It's so extreme, bro. But you're not explaining how that makes it transphobic. It can be crazy and not be transphobic.
Are we saying calling all trans people mentally ill is not going towards transphobia?
If he called all trans people mentally ill, then that would be pretty transphobic. Yeah, but he didn't say that. He said the online LGBT community is overwhelmingly full of mental illness, which I'm sorry, it's true. Yeah,
he's right. He's
so
fucking
we can
right.
split hairs on
having mental, also having mental illness.
I'm not here to disagree with you, but I'm just saying you think that his order of words is fine and fair, and that Anna leaving out the online for her explanation of the LGBT is
she was lying and Vaush was saying things that are true.
Not okay.
She was talking about an online community being toxic, so by her leaving that out.
She was lying because she says something that wasn't true, and I think it's intentional.
But was her intention?
He said, "Why do you think the LGBT community is cancer?" He didn't think the LGBT community is cancer. He was talking about the online LGBT.
Okay, so if she said online, is her point completely fair?
If she asked, "Why do you think the online LGBT community is cancer?" her question's retarded because we all know why. We would start talking about the answer. We would never ask that.
But that's what I'm saying. If she said that, then you would be fine with that statement,
right? She would have never asked that. It would make no sense to ask. We all know why the online LGBT community is cancer.
Everybody in this is part of the online LGBT community, right? So like I don't understand like why like the thing is you're saying that she's lying, but you have no way of actually showing that intention.
I don't think we should let this guy wiggle out of where we had him before because he still hasn't explained how this is fucking transphobic.
Explain the transphobia before we move on.
Can you explain the transphobia thing, please? Because you keep saying like it's really extreme, dude, but it being extreme does not amount to transphobic.
If this was the sole point that we were
no,
they are directing a question to Double Shine.
I think that comparing on
it takes skill to be less annoying than Hunter Avalone, to be more annoying than Hunter Avalone on a panel. This is awful. This is actually just awful.
Online trans activists
awful.
Who are like perhaps a little bit extreme.
I just talked to Sinthe again. She was great last time.
Comparing them to Nazis, I consider that to be transphobic. Now,
what do you think transphobia is?
Wait, do you think they're a little extreme online? Do you think that they are a little toxic online?
Yeah, of course they're a little toxic, but I would not say that they're as detrimental as Nazis. I think by saying that they are the same, that is transphobic. Because,
transphobia is when you're
I guess
afraid
it depends
of
on what your definition of transphobic. Mine would just be like you're heavily against trans people, or you're saying that they're like a detriment. Or sorry, not detriment.
You're saying any trans person is a detriment is transphobic, or saying all trans people are a detriment?
I'm saying a specific community of trans people are as bad as Nazis.
What about trans Nazis? Are they as bad as Nazis?
Can you just shut the fuck up for 2 seconds? Jesus Christ!
You just retarded.
All right?
I'm sorry.
Holy shit! No, because it's not talking about like a hyper specific. I'm not saying like these 3 people are fucking Nazis. He's saying that the online trans community is pretty fucking massive. You might say that it's a subset, but this is like overwhelmingly the majority of the trans people that at least the online space interacts with. I don't think most people are interacting with trans people like in day-to-day.
Did you forget your definition of transphobia, Double Shine? Like the time it took you to say that?
Explain to me yours then, Sinthe.
No, we're using yours. You said it wasn't transphobic. You're the one who said that. We're going to talk about why, or you said it was transphobic. I'm trying to figure out from you, what do you think transphobia is? Is that your definition of transphobia? If it is, if your definition of transphobia is you're calling all trans people detrimental, he didn't do that. If your definition is calling some trans people detrimental, then clearly that's fucking an insane definition because you would agree. You'd be transphobic by your own
You
life.
already said that some trans activists are toxic. So you've already yourself, if that's your definition, then you're transphobic now too.
Okay, so I think let me just get like a working definition of transphobia, right? It's just like right now as it stands, it's just a pretty negative attitude towards trans people, right?
Which Vaush doesn't have. So
I think he has a very, very hyper-specific negative attitude towards
I don't
trans
usually bring this up very often for the sake of my own like optics or whatever, but listen, I was a huge transphobic conservative until I debated with Vaush, and that is totally what helped change my mind on certain trans issues. So I can tell you right now, this notion that Vaush is transphobic because he said some of...
Who the fuck cares? Why does that matter that you changed your opinion talking to Vaush?
It matters because your claim was that he is negative towards trans people, but I am saying he is quite the opposite.
No, I said he's negative towards this specific community.
Oh.
Wait, is that what he just said, Sinthe? Is that what he just said, or am I
No, I swear to God.
I think the stronger point would be, because there's two, like, it's sort of like racist, right? There are two senses that people tend to use it in. There's transphobic in the sense that you have a prejudiced attitude towards trans people, and there's transphobic in the sense that your activity and your behavior and stuff that you do is in some way hostile to the well-being or existence of trans people as a group. The fact that Vaush is responsible for this fairly largest conservative creator softening his positions on trans people to the point of becoming a trans advocate to some extent, I think would make him eminently not transphobic in that stronger sense. Because at the end of the day, like, ultimately these are media figures. They benefit from the positions they promote on social media. You can't really take them at their word about that. In terms of their actual, like, whether they're good or bad, it is going to be in the result. And I think the result of Hunter Avalon in this case, very limited sense, is positive, not negative.
He said the polar opposite. It makes no sense to say that. If that's all Vaush was saying, why do you think that's transphobic? Why is it transphobic to say some communities of trans people are bad? Trans Nazis are bad.
That's a good question, then. Yeah, if you're gonna go that route, then why is that bad?
So do you think that, like, it would be racist if it's like, oh, all black people are good except the ones that are, like, conservative? Those guys are fine.
How do I avoid
you think
this?
that would be racist?
If you said that you don't like conservative black people, I would just think that you don't like conservatives. It wouldn't be racist.
I specifically mentioned specifically the black conservatives.
You like black Nazis?
I don't. It would depend why you were saying you don't like black conservatives. If you told me I don't like black conservatives because I just generally dislike black people, then yeah, I'd probably say you're being a racist.
What if I said that they're doing a harm to black people?
Okay, then yeah, I'd probably agree with you because you're voting for fucking policies that are literally
negative.
calling
somebody an Uncle Tom, that's not racist because I'm not talking about all black people there, right?
You're right, it's not. Nobody said all trans people. Nobody said all black people. But if black Republicans
I feel like if you call somebody an Uncle Tom, generally that's like a fairly racist comment that most people would understand. If you don't think that calling somebody an Uncle Tom is racist, that's fine. And I guess calling like a whole specific community of trans people is not transphobic.
Hunter, it's a 2v1. It's a 2v1. I need Double Shine to be able to say his whole point. No, I am a moderator.
I didn't even get to sit. Okay.
You got Food Chop, you got Double Shine.
Food Chop apparently doesn't disagree with you guys very much.
I don't disagree with you guys on this point specifically.
Yeah, so this is just you guys versus Double.
All I was going to say is black conservatives are a net harm on the black community. That's true.
That's okay. The black community is not a monolith, so.
Yes,
it's very difficult to be able to say that black conservatives are like race traders or a net negative to their own group. They have different.
White people aren't. Hang on. The white population isn't a monolith either. White fascists are absolutely a detriment to the whole, on multiple grounds. Educationally, in terms of class, etc., etc.
Doing it right now.
Are race traders.
I'm saying I used.
Call that like a racist
hold on.
Totally fair to
I use the word race trader because that is what they get referred to as, and it's just this idea that all black people are supposed to think the same, vote the same, and that just would not be accurate.
That would absolutely be racist. Did Vaush ever say anything like that?
I never claimed that he did. I used that as an example.
The other guy.
The whole point here was that I was saying that a specific group having a strong prejudice against a specific group of trans people, especially, I'm not talking about like 5 people. This is a very large, broad category of trans people. Having a specific, that could still be considered transphobic. Now, if your definition is just only transphobic, if it applies to every single trans person, that's fine. But I don't think that's like a tight enough definition that most.
What is your definition of transphobic, Double Shine? Did you forget what it was?
It's strong negative feelings towards trans people.
Towards all.
You would have to demonstrate that Vaush has that. Wait. Towards trans people, how many trans people? One trans person?
I'm not talking about one.
Trans people fundamentally.
This many
online trans people. Do you think the online trans community is just 2 people, Hunter?
No, but when you say that, you're giving yourself enough broad vagueness that you can just basically apply it to anything. So now anytime you have a negative feeling towards trans people, what the fuck does that mean? When a bunch of trans people start calling me a fascist or a Nazi, I have pretty negative feelings towards them. I'm not wait. I'm not transphobic. I'm not transphobic because I don't have anything against them for being trans. It's just if they're acting toxic towards me, then yeah, I'm probably going to be a little bit.
Then why does Vaush consider Anna transphobic now?
Why does he?
Yeah, if she only now disagrees with like 5% of issues that are brought up in trans Discord, why is she now transphobic? So
I don't know. I haven't really spoken.
I wouldn't even consider Anna deeply transphobic in the first sense. I would say she's transphobic in the second sense. So she's leveraging rhetoric that she herself condemned in very strong terms earlier, which is that inclusive language that specifies reproductive function, like for example in medicine, when you're addressing people who give birth as a medical category of person. She characterized that as being a desperate attempt at cynical narrative making by the right. She then indulged in that herself later on. Do I think that she had some massive intellectual transformation where she suddenly found the trans community psychologically hostile or like existentially hostile to women? No, I think she saw opportunities, she saw the political winds changing, and she very cynically leveraged lines that were getting a lot of uptake. J.K. Rowling has said something very similar. I think it's as simple as that. So is Anna Kasparian transphobic? I don't think she's intellectually transphobic. I don't think she has a negative reaction to trans people emotionally. I think she just doesn't give a shit about them. And she saw her personal benefit in attacking that category, and she's just went for it. So she's transphobic in the latter sense, which for a media figure is a lot more significant. She's made her platform and her existence itself hostile to the trans community. So in that sense, very strongly transphobic. But her personal emotions on the matter are neither here nor there. It's completely irrelevant.
Much on Anna specifically. I've been mostly just talking on the Vaush issue, to be fair.
Okay, so just to get it clear then, not everyone here thinks that Anna is changed and pivoted to being a transphobic.
I think that's too extreme. I think that I would need to see more before.
Sherry's not doing a terrible job. She could be stronger, but she's not doing a terrible job.
So far, she's definitely been branching out to more right-wingers, and I think she's curious about some more right-leaning positions. No, I haven't seen anything that actually makes me think that she's like this raging transphobe. Now, if there are clips or if she said something that is contrary to that, then I will absolutely change my opinion.
Hunter's playing the smart.
Do you think it's fair for Vaush to call her a TERF?
Without knowing?
I mean, sort of definitionally, right? Hang on, wait.
I mean, I would just like an actual answer.
I actually haven't followed the Vaush case. Did he call her a TERF? If he did, that's actually kind of fair. Because the whole notion that referring to birthing people is existentially threatening towards women, and that women is interchangeable with birthing people, specifically excludes trans men, definitionally, who will frequently be people with uteruses, etc., who are not women. So it would be pretty categorically trans-exclusive radical feminism. Because one category of person that is not frequently represented in the birthing people category is going to be trans women, right? I haven't seen all of Vaush's commentary on this. I heard him say that she was being transphobic, but not that she was transphobic herself. Well, it's kind of irrelevant. It's like Barack Obama going from "I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman" to "I believe two people should be able to get married if they love each other" later on. I can't remember the exact language, but he shifted in very short order from being marriage traditionalist to being pro-gay marriage, and it was obviously a cynical move. Which one is his sincere position? Were either of them? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. His personality at the state of his soul is not our concern.
You still I only know an answer to the definition of transphobe, but you still haven't given me or Sinthe that one. So I mean, for a little while, I think I did like 5 times. If you're
not following the conversation, that's okay. I can restate it.
Oh, this guy's.
Can you just restate it? Because I think they
have negative feeling towards a transphobe. That is more than 5.
They believe that you've pivoted, so double just restate it.
Yeah, sure. So I'll restate. I think transphobic generally is seen as negative feelings or negative prejudice towards trans people. They're trying to bottle this down on you have to be transphobic, or it's transphobic because it applies to all trans people. I think if you're brushing a large subset of that group in a really negative light, which is exactly what Vaush is doing. Not every online trans person is dealing with shared mental illness or is as bad as the Nazis. But if you brush over a whole entire group like that, yeah, I think it's like pretty transphobic.
How large, Double Shine? How large does the group have to be? You haven't answered this question once. This is why we're calling
I can't give you an exact line.
People, though. That's the problem. If he had said trans people are mentally deranged because men can't be women, that is an attack fundamentally on the concept of being trans. That is transphobic. To say this trans person online is acting toxic, and I've noticed that a lot of trans people online seem to be acting really toxic towards me. That's not transphobic. If he said they're being toxic towards me because I
is like dealing, they're like joined by shared mental illness. Do you think that's literally like a pretty negative
thing? A empirical fact that trans people have disproportionate mental illness. It doesn't invalidate them as being trans.
No, but he's not saying that from a scientific standpoint, and we both know that. You're being really disingenuous if you're saying that, like, oh yeah, they do have a higher rate of this.
Well, I think what he's specifically referring to is not mental illness in the sense of the kind of thing you would go to the doctor for. I think what Vaush is probably referring to is the tendency for a lot of people in online spaces to use whatever leverage they can in order to, assert some cheap facsimile of power within a group And if you're in like a server, say, that's run by someone who advocates for trans issues, you might be able to leverage the fact that you're trans or that you identify as non-binary or whatever in order to get special privileges or to be allowed to throw your weight around with other people in that group. And I think that's what he's referring to. And a lot of people let that kind of thing slide a lot, and I think it's actually hurt online leftist cultures quite a bit. I think that's what he's referring to. The mental illness language is a mistake, but because it meshes these two things together. Because I think, unfortunately, here Double Shine is correct. Obviously, Vaush is not saying, yeah, there are high levels of depression and anxiety in the trans community online. It's like, obviously, but that's not relevant to what he was saying there. He's talking about dispositions that manifest in toxic behavior towards other people in your community.
He said the sociologist inside of me sees changes in numbers and I have to interpret them. He said the sociologist inside of me sees numbers and I need to interpret them. That is what he said in that entire clip, because I just watched it today on stream. I know you didn't, because I know this shit. So yes, he was talking about that. It's true that trans people have disproportionate mental illness. Again, if he said trans people are mentally ill because they think they can change their gender or something, then he is again attacking somebody on the fundamental basis of them being trans. He never did that. He criticized a community. And unless you think that the trans community needs to be handled with kid gloves, then I don't know what else to tell you, my friend.
I think
nothing he said was an attack on trans people.
I think brushing an entire community is pretty bad. Yeah, I would say that. I don't think we can
yeah, sure,
both agree that not every online trans person is a dumb fuck or shared mental illness or as detrimental as Nazis. I think when you brush an entire community and you specify it on the grounds of them being online trans.
Can I be honest? Even if he did, so what? This is years ago. Like, I'm sorry, if you have to go back 3 years, more than 3 years, I think, actually. This is 2019. If you have to go back this long to get a clip of him ranting about, for seconds, about toxic people of some community online, and that's your comeback? Like, I'm sorry. Like, get a life.
Trans activists.
Have some fucking dignity.
Now, again,
you just said trans activists are more toxic. You yourself just said trans activists online are toxic. Also,
I'm not.
See, that's overly broad.
I'm not. I can say that they're toxic, but I'm not brushing them as again.
Yes, you are.
In general, online trans people are toxic. I think that's a very different statement than the entire clip that said.
I'm gonna find the full clip and go ahead.
Double Shine is pretty
bad. For example, when you reference like the trans conspiracy as a reference to like the Jewish question, don't you think we're getting pretty fucking tight there on
I would
like
have to see
what.
Wait, do you want the clip that Anna retweeted? Or that Anna tweeted out?
It was a 4-hour-long thing. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen every
Vaush
single part.
Edgy. You know, that's it. But I don't think he's actually transphobic.
But when you say like the trans question, for example, when you're comparing them to Jews that got genocided, it sounds like
yeah, it just sounds like a joke, you know. Like I've made way worse jokes than that. Like,
yeah, but why does that matter? I don't understand. Just because you.
Because you're saying he's transphobic for this, and if she's not transphobic, then he can't be either. Oh my god, dude! It's like talking to a fucking chimp.
No, okay. So here's the thing: your personal like comfort with how edgy your jokes can be doesn't necessarily have to impact whether or not someone else's jokes like meet transphobic or hateful.
Yeah, they do. If somebody making an edgy joke is not sufficient to be transphobic, then somebody making an equally edgy joke is not sufficient to be transphobic.
No, but I'm saying your gauge for what is edgy can't be the determination for everybody. Do you understand what I mean?
If Double Shine wants to say
his gauge of what's edgy is
transphobic,
please one at a time.
Gauge is what he, wait, Cherry. He's using his own edginess gauge to determine that Vaush is being transphobic, but then when this person on his team just said that they've also made jokes even worse than that, he said, "Who gives a shit?"
Yeah, why are you
this
like
is
saying
a 3v1 right now. I'm looking.
Like, Jesus Christ. I'm not even trying to be upset about it. You just keep interrupting every single statement I'm saying.
Okay, stop.
Right,
I got this. You are being so dishonest when you say this is a 2v2 and that's his partner. He doesn't have a partner here. You know that. I've made that clear. I'm looking for someone else to join.
They were on the same
I'm
team.
making it clear now. Okay, because it's kind of getting a dig at him when I've tried to give him.
Completely disagree with me.
I've tried to give him plenty of time to respond because it has been a 2v1 and Food has to sit this out because she's already realized that she agrees with you guys. I'm looking for another partner for him, but it's my understanding that generally the position that Double has, or most of the people that are in that position, which is similar to what Anna's position is the idea that they would be so judgmental on Anna's beliefs to label her transphobic, because that is what Vaush and his community have done. You said you would not go that far, Hunter. But for her to already be labeled transphobic as them, she brings up this that he said and is like, how are you throwing stones, essentially? So to me, it seems if she's going to get labeled for being transphobic for having this 5% disagreement, by his own standard, by Vaush's own standard, past Vaush would have to be labeled as transphobic as well. So that's what I mean by it depends on who's
gauge. What the fuck are you talking about? There's no logical connection there. No, because of the fact that
if you're saying I made no logical connection, you're being very bad faith, because I'm trying to be very...
Hold on, just wait. Hold on, just...
All right, here we go. There's the old Cherry who's nuttier than a squirrel.
Wait, all right.
Go ahead.
Saying that you disagree with 5% of the trans community does not mean that you're transphobic just because of that. The specific issues that she disagrees on are ones that he is using to label her as transphobic. He did never disagree on those issues. So it wouldn't be by his own lights that he's transphobic. What he said is that the online trans community is fucking toxic.
You're willing to say,
I'm sure that he's fucking correct.
Sinthe, and this can be your position, and I understand that you might not be aligned with Hunter. You might have your own beliefs here. You're willing to say that being against some gender-inclusive terms like birthing person, having a strong disagreement to that, you're saying that that's okay to consider that transphobic?
No, when the fuck did I say that?
I'm trying to understand what you're taking up for Vaush here for, because that is...
I'm telling you that the 5% that you disagree with the trans community on matters, and different 5%
and I'm telling you the 5% that...
Listen, Cherry, you want to know my position, you have to stop talking and listen, right? The 5% that you disagree on matters. If you disagree on 5% that are transphobic disagree on, then yes, obviously you're transphobic, but any random 5% is not sufficient to say
Okay, I would like to talk about Anna's 5%, where her big complaints was about the birthing person. And
I'm going to play this clip really quickly just on my own stream, but if you go to deleted controversial Vaush stream at minute or timestamp 1 hour, 29 minutes in, he says, I am absolutely not implying that all trans people are mentally ill or irrational. That's what he says. So,
yeah, wait, Sim, didn't you see you have an issue with the birthing person's thing? Like,
yeah,
what was it again?
I think that her position's retarded on that. I think
and would you say that Vaush is in the right to label her as transphobic because of that position?
To be fair, he called her. I think he called her a turf. I think he called her a turf. So
well, most turfs are referred to as transphobic. I'm asking you to have an opinion here. No? Do you want? If you don't want to have an opinion, you don't have to.
What position have I backed out of? Double shine. Name a position I've said that I've walked back. Name one.
Do you think that it was fair for Vaush?
Don't ask me a question. Name one.
Do you think it was fair for?
Don't ask me a question. Name one. Answer my question first.
Statement? Jesus Christ! I think that what happened was you got pushed on the 5%, and then as soon as you actually got asked, is it fair
to
call
my question?
I am. Holy fuck! Stop interrupting.
Yeah, you have to let Sinthe. Are you just
just
give me 1 second, because Sinthe, if you're just here to be like the debate bro, obstructor, obfuscator, like let me know.
Just give me an answer.
I would just prefer you to let people respond. Okay?
Yeah,
cool.
Thank you, Flo, for joining.
I think that when asked, is it fair for Vaush to call Anna a turf, which I think Cherry said transphobic, I said a turf, because I think that is what he actually did call her. You said, oh, I don't really know. So it feels like you ran away from that right away, even though you were very happy to talk about how it's not fair to call Vaush transphobic. So I'd like to ask you again, was it fair for Vaush to call... I mean, I don't understand. Is it fair for Vaush to call Anna? Can you just stop? Oh my God, this is unreal. I just have to do my sentence.
More cry bullying from Vaush.
Is it fair for Vaush to call Anna a turf?
Answer my question.
Yes, it's fair.
Wasn't even your question in the first place? Like, you can't
Sinthe, this is the question that I asked you originally.
I've walked back. Name one. You said I've walked back use of mine.
Nobody is interested.
Double Shine just said that. Double Shine just made that claim.
I am so not interested in the dick measuring. Can we just get to the point of Anna and Vaush?
Dick measuring. I want Double Shine to answer my question.
You're not.
Like, you can tag in to help him out.
Double answer the fucking question until you answer a question.
I've answered every question so far except for the one that he just answered.
To have an opinion.
Except for the one that he just asked, which was in response to my question.
Not.
I think calling her a turf really waters down the term. I don't know if it waters down the term, but I think it does open up new avenues for her defending herself, and I think that's a mistake. I'm of the opinion increasingly, and as somebody who's been like pretty loudly criticizing Anna, not that anyone cares, that I think even acknowledging her was a mistake. That's unrealistic for a couple of reasons. First of all, because we lack the discipline as a community, and by discipline I don't mean we're all just like super immature and unable to control ourselves, but in the sense that there is no top-down organization holding us to a particular policy. so that we can actually commit ourselves to simply not reacting to this and not making this into an event that ultimately benefits Anna and encourages right-wing and transphobic actors to what's the word, to bandwagon. I think in addition though, this now becomes, how do I put this? There is too much to be gained by the media actors, especially the smaller scale ones in this space, for them to have the actual incentive to not jump on this topic and make this into an issue that they're a part of. Because at the end of the day, like, if it's a choice between your well-being, for most people, your well-being as a creator or as a media figure or whatever, and your ability to benefit and grow from an interaction, this one always wins. Every single time, no matter who you are, ultimately. And it's very easy to post-hoc justify it. Keffel softballs Keem for 3 hours. I'm sure in her head she told herself she had the most noble reasons in the world for doing so. She was going to either bring over a major figure to her side, or she's going to destroy someone on the battlefield of ideas if it didn't work out that way. But what it actually ended up being was 3 or so hours of Keemstar whitewashing his history, her kind of nodding confusedly, and that was it. Was she, like, doing something particularly bad? No, but, like, at the end of the day, it's very easy to disguise the cynical motive with an honorable motive that you kind of stretch to match it. And I think the same thing's happening with the Anna Kasparian stuff. Ultimately, she did this specifically to make a positive statement to other people that she's open for business. This was not made as a critique of the left. This was made as a signpost advertising herself to the right and to transphobic actors generally. That's what this is. So that's where we are. Vaush recently said that calling Anna a TERF was a mistake in a live stream. I think it was a tactical mistake. I think I don't think it matters ultimately. So I like, it could be true. I think practically it makes no difference, but I think for that very reason, it complicates the narrative. I think in an ideal world, when she says this, nobody responds at all. People just ignore it. She can do her little roundabout, like talking to like Adam and Sitch or whoever, and she can talk about how awful it was to just, you know, keep her real feelings hidden because she's just terrified of lefties or whatever, and then it would go away. But now this is a thing, and because it's a thing, it benefits her, and it creates incentive for people to pile in defense of her, which improves her reach. And like what Keffel said, like a 2-hour documentary today. Great, I'm sure it was fantastic. I haven't watched it yet, but let's assume she did the best job possible. Just destroyed the Young Turks' body and soul. Not really, though, because they don't care. They don't care. The people who benefit from it ultimately are going to be Keffel's, good for her. Her editors, good for them. The entertainment you get from watching it, and that's going to be it. Young Turks going to carry on. There's more money in it for them to do what they're doing, and that's that. And as a consequence of this, though, as a consequence of this event, you've now lost access to the Young Turks forever, which we don't really have a replacement for. That's a very large-scale platform, and people like to talk about how they're like kind of flatlining or whatever. They're big, though. They're names that are known, more so than Vaush, more so than anybody else in this space. And I don't know. We have a fundamental issue where I say royal we, but like, who am I even talking about? Just the leftist groups as a whole lack any capacity for long-term planning or strategic compromises that don't amount to actually just completely betraying your cause. And that's a massive weakness that needs to be addressed. And I don't know how anyone can address it. We might actually just be screwed. But we're not in a good state right now. It's bad. Bad.
Answer my question before that. No, you didn't.
Question?
Which is the question?
I asked you, is it fair for Vaush to consider Anna a transphobic or a TERF because she disagrees with the term birthing person? What was your answer?
What did I say right after you asked it the first time?
You didn't give me an answer.
What did I say?
No, don't ask.
Just give me the answer.
What were the words I said? I said I have no fucking clue, you fucking retard, Cherry.
What about the majority report? Yeah, we got the majority report. They're kind of more lib, though, right? They're not super hard lefty. Oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, we got the majority report. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I for some reason in my brain, I confused the majority report with, what's his name? Who's that nerdy guy? Like, he's decent. No, majority report is Sam Cedar. Yeah, we have Sam Cedar. Sam Cedar's great. Who is that? Shoot. Younger guy. I'm drawing a total blank here. What's his name? Yeah, not majority. I wasn't thinking of the majority report. I had crossed him out from my brain. Yeah, that's good. Shoot. Why am I drawing a complete blank on this? Oh, he did a... David Pacman, that's who I'm thinking of, damn it. Yeah, David Pacman's more generic lib, and I think he's roughly the same size. Let's see, so he's at 1.83 million. That's just subs, though. It doesn't necessarily reflect current reach. And let's see, so majority report is about... I think the majority report is also, like, 1.8 million, roughly. 1.3 million. Okay, well, to put this into perspective, guys, the Young Turks are 5.5 million. They're big. Okay? And... I don't know, what's Hassan Piker's take been on this? Has he just been nervously avoiding it? Like, that's a lot. The Young Turks are there isn't a comparable thing, I think. And they're in safe territory. They're in Zizek territory. Like, it's dire, guys. It's really dire. Pac-Man is an open lib, which is fine. It's good for him. Yeah. Sunday you've been lifting? Yeah, but unfortunately that only helps up here. I have to work on down here. Not lifting, I do like push-ups and whatnot. TYT is huge because reactionary politics is easy. TYT is huge because they had a lot of money and some very big figures early on. Hassan was disappointed. He was quietly disappointed then. I haven't heard about it. He's not being brought up. He's not being brought up in any of this. The Young Turks may have a lot more subs, but from my experience, they typically don't get much in views in recent times, particularly not live, but yeah, it's dire. Well, here's the thing, though. If that's the case, you don't have leverage over them. If they don't rely on you for growth, they don't need you. If their views are going down, for whatever reason, they don't need you. They're going to search somewhere else for them. And a lot of people who are much more sincere than them are making the same judgment call. And they're doing the exact same thing Keffels did with the Keemstar conversation. They're telling themselves a story as they're doing it about how this is actually for the greater good. I don't want to sound like I'm like harping on Keffels about that. It's the example that came to mind because it was really annoying. Or like it's like the bullshit idea of Destiny having chicken and waffles with Nick Fuentes because he's going to turn him over. He's going to capture his audience. No, you're not. You're going to get converted first, if anything, or you're going to get neutered. But you're not going to accomplish that. What it is though is you've gained access to a very large audience that is now curious, and that benefits you monetarily, maybe even politically a little bit. That opens doors for you, not for your side, not for your movement, but for you as a creator. Similar with the Young Turks. Like if their viewership is declining, it's the whole thing with it's like with international sanctions. Actually, it's a weirdly apt analogy. If you like light sanctions that inconvenience another party, those can nudge somebody to change their behavior. The harsh ones, though, the ones that actually cut off economic relations between one state and another, that causes the sanctioned state to start looking for new friends. And that's basically what's happened here.
No, so you don't know what transphobic is.
Clue.
I have no fucking clue. Double shine.
When the fuck did I say I don't know what transphobic
what is transphobic? Define me transphobia.
I could tell you what transphobic is.
You don't even know if you can call her transphobic.
That's
Sherry,
not the question you just
can
asked.
you summarize the question in short that you're asking Sinthe?
Yes. What I'm asking, and I've asked I feel like you understand what the question is by this point, and it's just bad faith. It's bad faith on both.
Hunter's moderating this better than Cherry is.
Your part.
Me?
Yes, for you to need me to rehash it out, but maybe because you muted this to listen to your clip on stream, I would understand.
No, I didn't mute it. I'm just looking at chat. People are saying that he also posted in a video not too long ago that he retracted the turf statement. So I was trying to get more info on that. That's all.
Okay, and that is fair to bring up that Vaush, the things that he said in the past doesn't necessarily reflect how he feels today. But what I'm asking Sinthe, which is Anna's perspective, Anna is being portrayed as a TERF or a transphobic person right now because she disagrees with the term birthing person. And I'm asking if that is fair for Vaush to view her as transphobic if that is the single thing that she has moved on.
If that were the single thing that she were moved on, no, it would not be fair.
Of course, the answer to that's no.
No, absolutely. Well, if I could just answer that question too, it would not be fair to consider somebody transphobic for having an issue alone with birthing people, which is exactly why I said.
Your take. I knew that was your take, but Sinthe is not answering and he's not giving his
I just answered your question, you fucking retard. I said no.
It took you like 10 minutes to stop.
No,
I have a whole panel of people here that know you haven't answered it, so just give us the answer.
It's recorded, you dumb fuck. I said no.
Okay, so you think that Anna's not transphobic?
Sorry, hold on, Double Shine. Let Cherry finish her sentence. Go ahead, Cherry. Let's
so then, to be clear, you don't.
The moderator's debating me. Your moderator's not unbiased.
I have to in this situation.
Yeah, you have to. Let's go ahead.
But so in this situation, you would say that Anna's not transphobic then?
What the fuck is the connection there? No. Because of the fact that this isn't the only position she's necessarily moved on, saying, is it sufficient that she's moved her view on just this position to call her transphobic? Saying no to that doesn't mean that she can't be transphobic for other reasons, you fucking
Cherry,
retard.
can I ask a question to Sinthe, please? What position of...
No, let Cherry respond to that. She's just sitting there dumbfounded. Fucking respond to it, Cherry.
Do you think qualifies her to be a TERF?
What did you ask?
What position of Anna do you think qualifies her to be a TERF?
I fucking answered this earlier. I don't know what position Vaush is alluding to for calling her a TERF.
But that's why we're getting to the bottom of this, because
I didn't sit here and call her a TERF.
I can just explain this to you.
I can explain
this to you, Sinthe. I can explain this to you. Basically, the Vaush and the Anna drama that is happening is fueled by Anna being upset at being portrayed as a TERF or a transphobe for no reason.
She was upset about being called a retard and a bitch.
That's the recent clips. No, I'm talking about before. I'm talking about the initial response. If we recall, this feud has been going on for a while. So.
Thank you, Naima, for the $5. I feel like the main issue with Zoomer debaters like Sinthe, Bunk, etc. I forgot about Bunk. Is Bunk still kicking? Is that they go a bit too aggro sometimes. I've been on the receiving end of Sinthe in the past. Sinthe can be a very reasonable person when she's well disposed to you or is in that mood, and she can be the most insufferable person alive when she's not, to the point of being absolutely incoherent. So I think there's a bit of that. I think what you're looking at is not them being aggro in terms of losing control. It's aggro as a tactic, and then they lose the thread of why they're doing it, or it tends to sort of overtake their actual argumentation. I mean, it's hard to criticize her here because she's eminently more coherent than virtually everyone else in the panel, with the exception of Hunter. But, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Bunk is still active. I haven't watched any Bunk. All I remember is that he looks like he's 15 years old.
So in the beginning, Anna was put off and upset about being referred to as a TERF or a transphobe for her beliefs.
She was initially, she was upset that Vaush called her a TERF?
That she was portrayed as a TERF and a transphobe.
Yeah, what does that have to do with any of the
disagreeing with that?
I think it's specifically
because she's a trans, because she considers herself on the left and a trans ally. So that's essentially what all of this infighting is about.
Like
I feel like
Vaush considers himself a trans ally and is getting called transphobic.
Yes, it would be similar.
It'd be tough.
Wait, I'm curious, Hunter. Has Anna said that Vaush is transphobic?
Yeah, but the problem is that Vaush has inflammatory.
She literally posted the clip and said, "Why do you?"
Food Chops, I want to answer that.
Wait, yes, she posted the clip on Twitter and said, "Why do you think the LGBT community is cancer?"
Okay, did you call him transphobic?
Okay, I get that you're acting in incredibly bad faith right now, but anybody with half a brain cell who isn't...
in bad faith.
Shut the fuck up. Anybody who's not fresh out of preschool knows the implication there. Hey, Vaush, why are you saying the LGBT community is cancer after he was attacking her for not being progressive enough? Yeah, the implication is that he's being transphobic. Are you serious?
Whoa! Look at
this
this
your
thing.
first day in the real world? You're acting so smug right now, but yet you're also acting so stupid, and it does not go well together.
I want to let Flow Trace get in here. Go ahead, Flow Trace.
Yeah, sorry, I have not been listening to the whole conversation, so I might be missing something. Maybe I was born only one day ago, but I feel like there's a pretty valid interpretation that you could say that if Vaush is attacking Anna on what Anna believes to be, pretty tenuous basis to, disassociate her from the left or undermine her credibility as a trans ally, that her throwing that kind of clip back in Vaush's face doesn't necessarily read as her doing the exact same, but sort of demonstrating the sort of the weakness in doing that, because sometimes people speak very, bombastically. I feel like there's a very valid interpretation of Anna saying, Vaush, how can you say, I am transphobic when you have this kind of clip? Surely you would not say you're transphobic, so therefore I don't really think it's fair for you to say the same about me based on these clips. I don't think that's really that out there.
No, it's totally out there. So the clip from Vaush is
IQ thing. You're talking as if it's like some kind of 8D chess kind of thing. I don't think it's that deep.
I think it's super simple.
I don't know. Like, if you're interpreting it like from
Sinthe is still she they. I remember she's been misgendered a couple of times. My general understanding is that she kind of just weathers through it. It doesn't seem to. If it affects her, she doesn't let it show.
Face value, I just think it just seems a bit disingenuous, the way that it's sort of doing like that. And I promise I don't have a fence on my ass by the way I'm fence sitting, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so saying that saying that Anna is transphobic because of her statements wouldn't mean that anything in this clip from Vaush is transphobic. The clip is Vaush being correct, right? Anna is incorrect. There's the big difference here. Anna is incorrect. If you think the Vaush, hold on, food shops, hold on, right? So you interrupted me just now, dumbass.
Yeah.
Watch the clip. You can watch this back.
Just finish your statement. Chill with the dumbasses, okay?
I'm gonna keep calling people dumbass.
I'm just gonna ask
Oh
her
my
to
god,
chill.
the fucking constant interruptions from the most retarded people in the room.
Yeah, it feels pretty shitty, doesn't it?
Yeah, from the most retarded people in the room, double shined, right? Like right now. So just pipe down. Let me finish my sentence. So saying that Vaush is transphobic because of this clip would be fucking insane, because even out of context, seeing the fucking words you said, none of those are transphobic. They're just him being correct on an issue Anna agrees on. Anna is saying retarded shit, which is totally which is very clear and obvious motivated reasoning.
He's actually going this route.
I don't
you're
think
actually
something bad behind me, isn't there?
Just as bad faith as you guys are, because if you're gonna point
just let Hunter. I want Hunter to just react to what Sinthe.
I just want to know how anybody am I seriously the only person here who, when I read something like, is this you, Vaush? Why do you think the LGBT community is cancer? Is not implying that he's being transphobic.
I think online people
what do you think
shared mental illness is
another boat. What is
that? It's pretty transphobic too.
I don't think you do think that she was calling him transphobic.
Hold on, that's one person. Let's.
Hold on.
So you think she was implying that he was transphobic, and you agree that she was transphobic?
I'm taking the literal word. I'm taking the literal words that you guys said. Now, Anna's actual point is that we should actually retweet this after somebody said this. You can disagree with this because she didn't technically say it.
That's bad, isn't it?
No. Is that Vaush
no.
Worse things than Anna ever did about the online trans community when he's their target of criticism, and yet he joins them and engages in similar bad faith attacks.
Okay, we're almost there.
Now. Just to siphon off some of
Is it still on me?
TYT audience,
it's not.
which I think is Anna's point. I think again, it seems like you guys are just really fucking upset that she said LGBT instead of online LGBT, which I guess is a fair point. But I don't know. I guess if that's the extent of the conversation,
I appreciate it.
I think we escaped. That was actually terrifying. Okay.
I genuinely am not sure what your issue is then. So do you think that Vaush
I don't know
was being
what your
transphobic?
issue is, except for the fact that she didn't say online LGBT community.
Well, you said. No, you said that she didn't ever call him transphobic as well, right?
Yeah, she didn't call him transphobic. Sorry, God, I have to explain this to you. You guys are being super bad faith about my comment about him being transphobic in his clip. So I'm being super dishonest with the fact that she never actually called him transphobic. Now, he did call her a TERF, so that is true. However,
did he walk that back?
Okay, great. So if he walks it back, that's fine. Cool. I love how Vaush can do that trick where he
what
just
else
says
are you
crazy ass shit.
Did Vaush walk back? Did Vaush walk back calling her a TERF?
I thought so. That's what we were just talking about.
Well, do you actually know that?
Yeah. Do we have a link for when that happened?
I think it was one of his more
screenshot?
recent videos at the 6-minute 50-second timestamp. Let me go check it out.
Yeah, if you can put that in the group chat, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think that it is that crazy to say, given the context of the back and forth between Vaush and Anna, that Anna is trying to demonstrate sort of the flaws and the limits in the position of going after what she perceives as, comments that are exceptions in what is otherwise a very broad basis of support for trans issues. And in the same way that when Vaush... Hold on. I don't understand that she stands by those comments. The point that I think Anna is trying to make, and I don't think it's a crazy interpretation of what she's saying to think it's this point, is that she's saying that Vaush, I don't think it is, I think it's kind of rich coming from you who have made, similarly incendiary comments in regards to the trans community, but still would be considered, trans ally. You would not consider yourself transphobic, to sort of levy that same principle against me. It feels like, for you to levy that principle against me, you'd have to levy it against yourself. And clearly you don't think you're transphobic. And I think that's just that this particular clip of Vaush calling the online LGBT activist cancerous is just the example that she's pointing to of that. I don't think it's that crazy to say that's the interpretation, and not that Anna genuinely, if you read her mind, thinks, yes, I think Vaush is transphobic. I think he genuinely does not like trans people. I think that my interpretation is actually a lot more likely than the latter.
Cool. So why do you think that the comparison is apt between Vaush's behavior and Anna's behavior?
I think regardless of whether or not the comparison is apt, that Anna could be wrong. Anna could be wrong in the sense that Vaush does have a basis to criticize her, and not to criticize himself. But that the point she is trying to make is not that Vaush is transphobic, but that he is just the same as her. If we want to then argue about his claims versus her claims, that's a separate question to whether or not Anna did indeed call Vaush transphobic.
Okay, so if it's a totally unapt comparison, what evidence do we have that she's making this as a comparison?
Well, she actually really retweeted that point.
She thinks it's
somebody else after the fact. Yeah. What reason do you have to believe that?
Okay, so you're just gonna literally take the most bad faith interpretation of her.
Oh no! Wait!
I'm taking the literal interpretation. She's being honest.
Okay, yeah, because we're not autistic. We don't take the literal interpretation.
Yeah, you don't have to take. Look,
you
can call other people autistic. You're not. Look, you can call other people autistic. You're low functioning autistic.
No, because you don't understand. Just like you didn't understand.
Come on, Hunter, don't do that.
Sexual assault because you don't understand.
It was a funny joke. It was a funny joke. Vaush was right.
You're giving super good
It's not a
I'm not
funny
being
joke.
bad. I'm being too good faith to Vaush. You think I'm biased towards Vaush?
Sorry, you think it's a funny joke to joke about her sexual assault because you think grabbing a woman's ass is like some funny meme. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
If you call the other person a drug addict, them saying you're afraid of homeless people is fucking funny. It's an edgy joke and it's funny. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna cry about it. So back to the actual topic of discussion.
So that was just as offensive for him,
you know? Fucking joke then and just say, oh well, I thought it was funny, so I don't really care if he jokes back.
If you insult somebody else for their fucking ADHD, I think somebody else could insult you for the fact you got your ass grabbed by a homeless guy. Yes, it's fucking fair game. If you want to get in the mud, somebody's gonna get in the mud with you. Don't fucking cry about it when they go there. Don't fucking go low and cry when somebody else goes just as low as you did.
Man, sorry, fuck. Synth, what are you doing? It's a gender neutral man. What are you doing? Don't go there. Just don't. Frankly, I was flying too close to the sun on that one. Just don't. No, it is not. Don't make that fair game. Bad move. Not gonna help you.
Think about this is if you're a cryballer. You constantly use the bad faith or bad faith double shot.
Why?
You're the most bad faith motherfucker I've talked to ever. It's wild to me.
You didn't even mention the fact that it was sexual assault, and then when it
she was doing great.
It off, which is I think
it was totally worthwhile. I think it's funny.
Okay, that's great. I'm just gonna let you know that most people.
If somebody makes an edgy joke, you can make an edgy joke. Most people aren't okay with you making edgy jokes about somebody about fucking somebody being an Adderall addict because the fact that they use Adderall for ADHD.
I think we just have a difference here. I don't know how I can explain to Synth that like making fun of someone's sexual assault is like probably not
making fun of somebody getting groped. Yeah, I think it's like totally fair game.
I would just like to be clear
that to insult you for getting your ass grabbed. Yeah, who cares?
Look,
I would like to be clear that I don't.
Synth, we live in an unjust world in which not all crimes are considered equal, and unfortunately, making fun of someone's Adderall usage is doing something a little different than making fun of somebody being groped, okay? I'm sorry. It's just how it be. Make peace with it. That was a dumb move. That was dumb. Don't do that. You were doing so well. Don't make this your white whale, okay?
Don't think there is record.
I guess it's too late. Just, why? There was no need.
I don't think that there is record of Anna going on and crying about Vaush's tweet. I think people are offended for Anna. It's other people that are put off to see Vaush make fun of a sexual assault.
So they're offended for Anna. Yeah, I mean, I agree. How many people are offended on her behalf? Nobody.
I think it's okay to.
Who cares?
I think it's okay to criticize Vaush's joke and also criticize Anna's joke. I think that just because someone crosses a line doesn't mean she crosses all lines. Like I don't think it'd be appropriate to like start calling Candace Owens the N word. You know,
sorry to interrupt.
Candace Owens called somebody the F slur, then I think it'd be understandable if they called her the N word back. Go low. People are gonna go just as low. Like I'm sorry, it's reality. Fucking grow up.
Hunter. Let's let Food Chop and then Hunter.
I found the clip that you wanted me to find. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's totally understandable that according to that clip, because I know we're dying on this hill.
Okay. At this moment, Sinthe lost the debate. Bad. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Just, Why? Why? You were winning. What was the point? What's with this, like, this weird, like, tough routine?
Now, right? That according to that clip, right? No matter how you interpret it, that Vaush was saying it in a really, really inflammatory way, and since Anna Kasparian is on like a whole new level tier that is above Vaush, right? Like because I don't think they're on the same level. Like she's on a new clout level. That if she is like she had hand in funding the justice stems and stuff, if she had something like Vaush on like onto her platform and to have on the TYT platform who says like these kinds of things where these kinds of clips are circulating, like even though she might understand that there's a difference between online and not, like even though like she's being bad faith online and etc., right, that her audience, which is typically like boomer progressive kind of people, like look at that kind of thing, they might not interpret that way, and we shouldn't hold the TYT audience standard as the same as like Anna Kasparian's like own perspective kind of standard, if that makes sense, right? So if they see somebody like Vaush on there and they see like these clips start to circulate because Facebook boomers, right? Then and Republicans start going hard at Anna Kasparian for hosting this like pedophile kind of Vaush person on, then I don't think it looks good for TYT to be doing that. It's just not a good optic thing overall. It's understandable why like Anna Kasparian wouldn't have somebody like Vaush on. Like
I don't think there's any claims about Vaush being a pedophile that is validated. So
no, none of those are bad.
I just don't want that to stick.
I just put it in the chat.
No, I recognize none of it is validated, but I'm just saying it's easy for Republicans to believe and name call these like with no kind of validation and easily like throw these like things out and have good talk.
Clearly out of motivation. What are we speculating?
Okay, hold on, wait, please, guys. Wait 1 second. I put it in chat. You can go to Anna Kasparian is so mad at being called out. Posted on Vaush's channel 3 days ago at minute timestamp 6:29.
Which chat did you put it in?
Yes, I did. It said message.
What did Sinthe say? It was hard to understand. A bunch of stuff that I can't say on stream. Okay. Yeah, Vaush wasn't making fun of Anna's sexual assault claim. That's it's such a bad move. Such a bad move. Ain't no way he knows what a TIF is. It's like a tax incentive of some kind. I know that.
It just failed to load though, so I don't know if it went through.
This might be having trouble.
For some reason not working.
Wait, can you put the link in the group chat, please?
That's what he's working on.
That's what I tried doing, but it's saying messages not loading. I'm not making it up. You can. Well, I can just put it in here then. Hold on.
Like, okay, so I'm a
wait. No. I need to read this
just let him finish.
He said, "I don't think I called her a TERF. Did I call her a TERF? I don't think her rhetoric is turfy. I don't remember saying that. If I did, then I think that's imprecise. I don't think that's a precise description of her ideology. I think she's being transphobic. I don't think she's a TERF." End quote.
Wait, so he did call her transphobic.
The question was whether or not he called her a TERF.
No,
not transphobic.
Okay.
It was known.
You can be transphobic and not be all the way in TERF territory. So, for example, you can have toxic attitudes towards trans women, but you may not necessarily exclude them from women categorically in feminist activism or something like that. it gets sort of into turfy territory if you like support policies or engage in whatever that in some sense excludes trans people of any description. But it's a little bit different. So there's a little bit there admits of degrees of like badness there. It's like conservatives versus fascists, you know? At a low level resolution, they end up in a lot of the same places, but they're a little different. And we're not at that place yet, so you kind of have to recognize those differences, or else you'll be ridiculed for conflating the two.
That he called her a TERF. I said transphobic. We weren't sure if it was one or both. But we also didn't know that he walked it back.
Call her transphobic, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't know we were even arguing about that. Yeah, of course he called her transphobic. I thought the argument was whether or not he called her a TERF, which is, in my understanding, what...
I know a TIFF is a light scuffle. Well, so did I, but I Googled what is a TIFF on Reddit first, so I knew how to answer that, so I looked smart.
We were arguing about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because initially he did. You guys had a hard time buying that, but he did. He walked that back, sure, but he called her transphobic, right?
So, oh, God. I didn't even touch it. Why am I...
Okay.
I just want
the argument wasn't whether or not he called her transphobic. It was whether or not he called her a TERF. That's all.
I see.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you who disagreed earlier about that, Hunter. So just because you're not the one who challenged it doesn't mean it didn't get challenged. I think Sinthe wanted to know exactly if Vaush had called her transphobic. He didn't know about it, and that's why he's saying
no,
it was
I didn't.
confirmed.
Lost in their own fucking discussion. It's actually
what the fuck? No, I never asked if Vaush called her transphobic. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. I have no fucking idea what Vaush's reason for calling it transphobic is.
You're lost. You gotta keep up.
I'm not lost. You're not tracking. I fucking made this very clear. You asked me 3 different questions. I can remind you what they were, right? The first question that you asked me about, do I know if, or like, do I think that Vaush is justified? I don't know.
Let this guy finish what he's saying to me, please.
Yeah, so calling somebody a TERF and walking it back, Vaush has a really bad history of that, which is already pretty fucked up. But if we want to just go with the fact that he's calling her transphobic, then that's fine. I'll
got a history of
that one, okay? We can just stick with that.
You think there's a difference?
Obviously, there's like a difference, but I think in the idea that that she would feel insulted by being called transphobic or TERF, I don't think that that's like a distinct difference there. I don't think like if somebody called me transphobic, I would be like this mad, but if somebody called me TERF, I would be like this mad. I think
you're ignoring some of the nuances here. A TERF is definitely a different thing than just a transphobe. I mean, conservatives can be transphobes, but actually being like a radical feminist who's also exclusionary towards trans people and in favor of like the woman right thing is a different ideology.
I will say, as somebody in feminist spaces and as somebody who's...
Where was this Hunter months ago? This is a smarter, smoother, more clear-headed Hunter Avalone. I like this Hunter a lot more. The Hunter I spoke to was a idiot freaking out emotionally online. This Hunter's... I like this Hunter. This is a good Hunter. Good boy.
Often criticized as a feminist.
Oh, the evil shit!
You are on the left as a woman and you are a feminist. Being referred to as a TERF is interchangeable with transphobic. There is no distinction made. But I understand for you that you would see them as different. Yeah, it should, but they are.
Because that's literally what he did. He was
so close.
A TERF,
yeah,
to, like,
so close.
No, don't generic insult now for like
don't you dare. Okay.
Transphobic white.
Sure, and you know what? That was definitely irresponsible. I'm not over here as a giant Vaush fan. I just think that what Vaush said in this clip was he's trying to say that he's transphobic, and it's not really transphobic. That's all.
I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooks.
Have a bad history, by the way, of getting stuff wrong and then needing to walk it back. Also,
guys, it's over. We've been freed. Oh wait, we haven't. We're not at 50 yet. Okay, we're almost there. We're so close, guys. Thank you, Brooks, for the $50. This is like waterboarding me, blackmail. We are $10 away. Friends, we are $10 away from skipping to theory. That's all it takes. Ugh. I want to be generous. But that's bad business. $10 away, we skip straight to theory. We're over with this.
But over here is like the biggest Vaush fan or Vaush stan or some shit.
Wait,
it's just...
Does anybody... I understand. Does anybody have
it's
any
gone.
issue
We
with
escaped.
what I talked
we did it.
about?
No, we didn't.
The optics thing?
Do you want to restate it?
Optics don't even matter. I think if somebody's like going out and like hurling like I think like again, Sinthe doesn't care if you call somebody like a retarded dumb bitch and stuff like that, but there's no true statement to somebody is retarded or a dumb bitch. Those are just insults, right?
So
if you're upset, no, sorry, I'm answering your question, right? I think that if you have a platform,
$5 for $5 to the end.
Why would they share it with somebody who's like going out on these like insane fucking meltdowns,
yes!
calling Anna a bitch? Like, why would you do that? You don't have any obligation to like charity basket them.
Silence. Enough. It's over. It's over. All right, I'm going to put a poll on. I'm going to give you theory options. Thank you, Rixai. Thank you, Naomi. And thank you, Lisa. Thank Naomi Chance for the $10, Lisa for the $2, Rixai for the $4.99. Much appreciated. Get a better graph, you dick. I like my graph. This is a fantastic graph. I made it myself. This is a beautiful graph. Do you want to make me a graph, Brooks? You want to complain? You can make me a graph.
Look at this graph.
Alright, I'm going to give you a poll. And I do not mean Lucy. I'm going to give you a selection of theory things. Oh, we need to end this poll first. How many imps do we have? We got a lot of imps, actually. We're actually a little bit over half imps. This is good. We are taking down Demon Mom's audience from the inside. So I'm going to give you theory options. We're going to do theory for an hour. After we've done theory for an hour, we are going to move on to Bad Empanada's video on why liberals can't counter conspiracy theories, which I think is going to be sort of halfway in the domain of theory anyways. We'll probably do theory for a little bit more than an hour. We'll finish it. We'll make it satisfying. But here we go. So we're going to have some options. Evolution. Biology. There's a great talk that I've been wanting to look at between Richard Dawkins and this other bloke. Which we might do. We might look at papers as well. Political theory. There is, and I might actually just buy this for this. And maybe you'll hate this. I hate it too, but it's also kind of fascinating. Darya Dugan has a 380-page book that was just released, and it's available in e-format, which means I can conceivably get a hold of a copy right now. Otherwise, we'll have some other options to look at too. But I learned about that this morning. Jackson Hinkle was broadcasting it. That could be kind of interesting. If only to laugh at, but it'll still be fun. What was the other one? Hang on. Bear with me a sec. I've got a list of them here. Shoot. Where are you? Oh, where was it? Damn it. Yes, sorry. I wanted to look at Yoram Hazoni's The Virtue of Nationalism on stream. New Darya Dugan book. Virtue of Nationalism, Hazoni. And Just Riot Theory. That's an article that will be here. Why there is no just riot theory. Okay, I'm going to grab coffee, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to look at this. Sunday should dance for another $100. If you give me $100, I will dance. If I get another $100, I'll do it. No, I'm not going to be. No, see, that kills the spirit of the thing. I will skip the next segment for another $100 and do whatever you like, within reason. But the entire point to this is to incentivize people to support the theory work. So if they're going to support the theory work, I'm going to honor that. As much as I would like another $100, I'm not going to give you $100 to cancel it out. That would be a douchey thing to do, and it would be against the whole spirit of the thing. I'm going to be back in a few minutes with coffee, and I'll see what you guys choose. Yeah, I'm hoping for Riot Theory too, personally, but I can't influence you. This is a free decision by chat. I'll be right back. What have ye decided? Oh, just Riot Theory is really winning. Not a fan of this song? You don't like Earthbound? Oh, well. I can't help it if my audience has no taste. Alright, looks like we're doing just Riot Theory, finally, after all this time. I know some of you are going to be excited about that. I guess we can turn off Dredge for the time being. Alright, let me grab the article and then we will begin. Why there is no just Riot Theory. Where did I hide this? I had it in my book section. I probably put it into stuff for stream. Let's see. Higher studies? No. Oh, here we go. I think the whole thing's here. Perfect. Here we are. Yes. This is a fertile land and we will thrive. Okay. Haha! Hee hee ho ho. Actually, I think we can make this smaller. I can zoom in more. It'll be easier for me to read. There we go. Like that. How's that, chat? Is that good? Big enough for you? Alright. This is Jonathan Havercroft's Why Is There No Just Riot Theory? This was published in 2021, actually pretty recently. I've had people in my server ask me to go over this for a little while. I'm probably going to do a video essay on this at some point, because if anyone's like... If you've been in international relations at all, you've probably heard of a book called International Investigations. I think it's what it's called. It's a compilation of essays on international relations theory. And who is it? I know Martin White's in it. Herbert Butterfield, I think, is in it. It's got a few people. But there's an essay in it called Why Is There No International Relations Theory? And the title of this evokes that. I haven't compared the two, and I read that badly years and years and years ago, but I've been meaning to go over both again. So this will probably be the subject of a video essay at some point, but we will see. Robin Page, thank you for the $5. A good book for evolutionary theory is The Origin of Phenomena by D.B. Kelly. Good intro for the study of the evolutionary algorithm. I will give that a look, actually. Let me put that onto my Amazon wish list before I forget. The Origin of Phenomena. Oh, it's free on Kindle. Excellent. But I'm gonna get a paperback, because I annotate my books, and I just can't. I can't for the life of me read a lot of this stuff on Kindle. I read novels on Kindle typically, begrudgingly. Dune I don't, though. Dune I read in hardcover, or not hardcover, but in solid. Good. That's on the wish list. If anyone wants to buy that for me quickly, you can. I will buy it for myself at some point, in all likelihood. Alright, well, here we go. Theory time. Let me turn off the AC. Where's my remote? Because it's freaking freezing in here. Hang on, bear with me. Ah! Where did it go? What? Oh, here it is. Alright. We'll just read through this, and if we leave to do other stuff, we do. Or if it sends us on a journey, that is. Here, let's make myself a little bit smaller so I'm not cutting into the page as much. Let's begin. Given the prevalence of riots throughout human history, the lack of normative theorizing about them compared to other forms of political violence is striking. The author hypothesizes that this is due to riots' extra institutionality. Riots are extra public, quote-unquote, because they involve the participation of crowds rather than institutionalized groups such as parties or social movements. They are extra state because they violate the state's monopoly on violence. I actually find this a little bit questionable, because the state doesn't have a monopoly on violence, not even under Weber's definition. The state has a monopoly on the use of legitimate physical violence. That's a very crucial distinction. Riots are extra legal because they constitute a form of unlawful assembly. They are also extra parliamentary because they operate outside the normal legislative process. This article considers justifiable reasons to resist each of these foundational institutions and proposes provisional criteria for a justifiable riot. The author concludes by urging political theorists to further examine the normative dimensions of riots. There is actually a theory of just riot, which is found in someone like John Locke. But that would be riot as a form of revolutionary action against a tyrant. That would not be... And I'm a little bit I have some questions, too, for the characterization of a riot as being a form of unlawful assembly. Not because a riot doesn't involve assembly in some sense, but because when you picture a riot, sometimes you can be thinking of like a crowd of people marching towards police lines, say, but sometimes you can think of something a bit more dispersed. Some of the more destructive, like BLM scenes you would see, where there have been like sort of dispersed acts of violence, a dispersed crowd. There isn't like a single body of people moving in any one direction. Maybe there is somewhere, but that doesn't really, either the violence doesn't characterize that, or that doesn't characterize the violence, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so the author concludes by urging political theorists to further examine the normative dimension of riots. Let's move myself off the screen a little bit. There we go. Okay. This is an MLK. Oh, there's a few quotes here. So first, we begin with a quote by MLK. And I would be the first to say that I am still committed to militant, powerful, massive nonviolence as the most potent weapon in grappling with the problem from a direct action point of view. I am absolutely convinced that a riot merely intensifies the fears of the white community while relieving the guilt. But it is not enough for me to stand before you tonight and condemn riots. It would be morally irresponsible for me to do that without, at the same time, condemning the contingent, intolerable conditions that exist in our society. And I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard, unquote. Martin Luther King Jr., 14th of March, 1968. Quote, riots work, and I've never said it in that way before. I'm an American because of a riot. The Boston Tea Party is sold to us from the time we are kindergartners to the time we graduate high school. We are told that Americans and patriots got so fed up with paying taxes to the crown that they decided to burn some shit to the ground. Post-riots, they have 2 new Black City Council members, they have actual advocates in the community now, and the police chief retired. So if it was argued that riots worked for Ferguson, absolutely they did. Killer Mike, 6th of August, 2015. Now we begin to the article proper. Very few people defending rioting as a justified political action. Very few people defend rioting as a justified political action. Political opponents point to riots to delegitimize the political movement that instigated the violence. Even supporters of a political cause quickly condemn protests when they become riots. I think this statement here that very few people defend rioting as a justified political action, that's going to be more true of political scientists, but it's not going to be true of people generally. I think there's a lot of defenders of a lot of riots, especially in recent history. So even supporters of a political cause quickly become protests when they become... Even supporters of a political cause quickly condemn protests when they become riots. Consider, for instance, the reaction of prominent figures to the April 2015 anti-police brutality riots in Baltimore. Baltimore resident and co-creator of HBO's The Wire, which I still need to watch, David Simon issued a statement as the riots were ongoing that read in part, quote, if you can't seek redress and demand reform without a brick in your hand, you risk losing this moment for all of us in Baltimore. Turn around, go home, please, unquote. Barack Obama expressed similar sentiments when he said, quote, one burning building will be looped on television over and over and over again, and thousands of demonstrators who did it the right way, I think, will be lost in the discussion. I don't like this phrase for a number of reasons, because the flaw with this being the motivating factor in your choice of political action is sort of pretty apparent. If one burning building is all it takes to be looped on television over and over and over again to do the damage to your movement, that burning building will be supplied, and there's nothing you can do about it. Both of these statements share a common concern that riots run the risk of undermining political progress that is more effectively achieved through non-violent means. No, I haven't seen The Wire, Brooks. Is it on the thing? I'll watch it later. I will watch it, I promise. I will watch The Wire, okay? Don't hit me. More radical thinkers have been quick to push back against condemning riots as ineffective. For instance, George Sicariello Mar, run with that, refuted the claim that rioting only encouraged a political backlash. Ta-Nehisi Coates argued that calls for the Baltimore rioters to protest peacefully in the face of violent repression by the Baltimore Police Department were hypocritical. Hip-hop artist Killer Mike, quoted above, defended the anti-police brutality rioters by arguing that riots were an effective tool for bringing about political change, a view that was echoed in subsequent political analysis. I don't know any of these people. These commentators argue, I'll look though in the bibliography later because this might give us some fodder for future streams. These commentators argue that while riots may not be wise or correct, they were a last resort after community members had tried and failed to gain redress for their grievances, using non-violent means. I do think the language of last resort is mistaken as well. If an action is tactically advantageous, it's not going to be your last resort. You're going to pick it because it works. I think calling it a last resort is a bit of a cope. In every instance of recent anti-police rioting in the United States, the political authorities responded to some of the rioters' key demands. Yet, these defenders focus on riot's effectiveness rather than its legitimacy. I actually disagree with this a little bit. If you have to fall back on saying that a riot is only a last resort, you are defending its legitimacy. You're not defending its efficacy by itself. You're also saying, and in fact, you're not even necessarily defending its efficacy, because it could be a desperate, last, hopeless kind of Hail Mary moment that actually doesn't have a hope of working. So that's not defending its efficacy, that's defending its inevitability, that's defending, it's sort of a, well, what else are we supposed to do kind of statement. They do not defend rioting on normative grounds, though, according to this author. The lack of normative theorizing in academic scholarship about riots is even more striking. There is an extensive literature in history, sociology, and empirical political science about riots and rioting. Historians have a long tradition of interpreting the changing meaning and significance of riots over time and across cultures. Political scientists and sociologists have also explored the causes of riots as well as policies to minimize and prevent them. Yet, there is very little normative scholarship about riots. There are, however, significant bodies of literature about other forms of political violence and militant resistance. For example, a long tradition in political theory stretching back to the early modern era considers the justifications for revolutions and resisting rulers. For example, Locke, Marx and Engels, da-da-da. Political theorists have also written normative defenses of terrorism. Did Nielsen do a normative defense of terrorism? Hang on. If that's the Nielsen I'm thinking of, that's kind of surprising. Okay, Nielsen, never mind. Sorry. There's a textbook writer. I think I'm thinking of somebody else, actually, who's not Nielsen. The political obligation literature spells out the conditions under which citizens may resist state authority. The just war tradition explores both when a war is justified and what is appropriate conduct in a war. I actually need to read Walzer still. I know of Walzer. He's taught as a matter of course in a just war course in... that sounds redundant and confusing. He's taught frequently in a yearly offered course at UVic, University of Victoria, on just war. But I haven't read Just and Unjust Wars yet. Scholars of civil disobedience have elaborated on the conditions under which citizens may intentionally and publicly break the law. While riots are similar to those other political phenomena, they are distinct in some crucial ways. First, riots are worthy of attention in their own right. And those other ones aren't? Alright. Secondly, riots are not the same as revolutions. Revolutions seek to replace the entire system of government with a new system, whereas riots are very localized protests of specific grievances. I actually disagree with this. When Russian Revolution did not begin as a planned attempt to replace the entire system of government. The riot became that. Riots became that, rather. I think often the success or the spectacle of a riot can precipitate a revolutionary action even seeming viable. But the very notion that revolutions are top-down is precisely why Lenin never actually successfully staged a revolution. He only took over a government that had already undergone revolutionary change. Thirdly, riots are not the same as civil disobedience or conscientious objection. In these cases, the lawbreaker intends to be convicted as part of the protest, whereas rioters often attempt to avoid arrest. Only radical and Marxist scholars take riots seriously. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. Yet even they do not develop a normative defense of rioting. They usually characterize normative questions as bourgeois moralism, maybe a little bit of both, and instead focus on riots' ability to bring about revolutionary change. The lack of normative theorizing about riots is doubly surprising, given the analytical focus on riots in more empirically oriented fields and the amount of attention devoted to other forms of political protest, violence, and resistance in political theory. President Sunday, I sent you a theory of riots that's fucking amazing. Guess from who? Oh, of course. That'll be a day. Oh, Bataille. Nice. Page 67, huh? Screw it. Let's take a look. 67. Oh, wait, no, we're still here. Hang on. What did I do? Here, give me a sec. There we go. Let's see. Page 67, huh? I think this will be a good theory stream for another day. We'll go over this another day. This is good, though. Nice. Okay, we'll go over this next time. Next theory stream. Alright, where were we? Okay, here we go. Sorry. The lack of normative theorizing about riots is doubly surprising given the analytical focus on riots in more empirically oriented fields and the amount of attention devoted to other forms of political protest, violence, and resistance in political theory. This essay explores why there is no just riot theory tradition in Western political theory. I argue it is because riots are extra-institutional in 4 ways. They are extra-public because rioting crowds are self-organized. They are not formally institutionalized groups, such as parties or social movements. 2, they are extra-state because rioting disrupts the state's monopoly on violence. I've already said my primary issue with this. The state doesn't have a monopoly on violence under any political theory, obviously, because that would be a statement about the existence of violence that's not performed by the state in society, and obviously there is. The state, under a descriptive political theory by Max Weber that does not actually... It adequately describes how we discourse about the state. It doesn't adequately describe the thing being pointed at by the word state as such. The state has a monopoly of legitimate violence. Very different kind of thing from monopoly on violence generally. A monopoly on violence can be achieved just by having enough weapons to just disarm everybody else. 3, riots are extra legal because they involve breaking laws concerning public assembly. And 4, they are extra parliamentary. Interesting. Because rioters express their grievances outside of normal political processes. If you've ever seen a representation of an early parliament, there is a thin line between what is parliamentary and what is riotous. Hell, I mean, look at some early forms of court proceedings. For instance, Britain's Public Order Act defines a riot as follows. Where 12 or more persons who are present together use or threaten unlawful violence for a common purpose, and the conduct of them taken together is such as would cause a person of reasonable firmness present at the scene to fear for his personal safety. Each of the persons using unlawful violence for the common purpose is guilty of riot. 2 key parts of this definition. The presence of 12 or more persons and the use or threat of unlawful violence highlight 2 of the 4 essential features of a riot outlined above. Riots are crowd actions and involve violence. The first 2 sections will consider these 2 forms of extra-institutionality in turn. They explore what could justify political action outside of normal democratic procedures, and what could justify the use of violence. Yet, even if both of these aspects of riots' extra-institutionality are justified, let me say that a bit more clearly, yet even if both of these aspects of riots' extra-institutionality are justified, there are still crucial questions about their extra legality and tendency to operate outside of normal parliamentary procedures, the 3rd and 4th characteristics described above. These questions will be addressed in the 3rd and 4th sections. In the conclusion, I argue that because each of the 4 elements of a riot that is normally deemed illegitimate has well-theorized instances in which legitimate exceptions are made, there is no reason in principle that a theory of a just riot is not possible. The 4 types of extra-institutionality thus suggest possible criteria that could justify a riot. That's interesting. I don't like the separation of riot from revolutionary action here, and this is probably going to be my principal objection to this piece overall. There seem to be some rather arbitrary decisions in terms of the identities of the elements involved, but we'll see. So, the crowd as an extra public actor. The crowd has an ambiguous place in the history of political theory. McClelland observes that it could almost be said that political theorizing was invented to show that democracy, the rule of men by themselves, necessarily turns into mob rule. Political theory's bias against the crowd revolves around two main arguments. First, the elitism of most canonical political thinkers made them suspicious of crowds for lacking the expertise and leadership for effective political action. Secondly, more populist theorists suspect crowds of being too disorganized to be capable of sustained political action. I actually think that the reason for political theory having a bias against the crowd is precisely because political theory takes as the object of its study the state itself, whatever form we're talking about, which is going to be a top-down form of organization that is going to be hostile to any type of bottom-up type of organization, or any type of dispersed organization. An early example of the first tendency is Plato's critique of democracy in the Republic. He worried that the people were not temperamentally suited to govern, and that demagogues would manipulate the masses into establishing a tyranny. Hobbes expressed a different concern. He drew a sharp distinction between the people and the crowd. A people is a single entity with a single will. You can attribute an act to it. None of this can be said of a crowd. According to Hobbes, the crowd only exists in a state of nature. Only a crowd can carry out a rebellion. When a rebellion takes place, the individuals participating cease to be people and turn into a crowd. The crowd returns the people to a state of nature. Whether the crowd leads to tyranny, as with Plato, or to anarchy, as Hobbes maintains, both lines of thinking agree that the crowd is unruly and prone to facilitating dangerous political outcomes. Even radical pluralist thinkers such as Arendt endorse this interpretation of crowds, although she uses the language of the mob. In her analysis of the Dreyfus Affair, she distinguishes between the mob, a proto-fascist, extra-institutional mass movement prone to anti-Semitism and violence, a little overly determined, she's a bit more broader than that, but fair, and the people, a deliberative public capable of resisting mob rule through political action, Arendt, 1973. That's going to be from Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism, which is a book I read in my first year of university that I really enjoyed then, and I think much less of these days. A very short gloss of her theory is essentially that what she calls totalitarianism is made possible due to a general breakdown in legal structural order, such that rather than a structured assembly of persons, you have a mob moving as like an elemental force that can be guided by social pressures exerted by movements of police, propaganda, fascination with charismatic figures, things like that. And one of the major characterizations of, for example, Nazi Germany or Stalinist Russia is that there is no law as such. Instead, the quote-unquote legal enforcing entities, the police, the secret police, etc., are left to interpret the will of the Führer, as it were. And so you have a situation where there is really nothing but raw top-down force that is directing the movements and activities of massive populations, almost like you would direct like sand in a funnel kind of thing. There's something elemental and mindless and very very physically basic about it, I guess. This historical distinction between demos, multitude, crowd, and mob on the one hand, and the people on the other, shares the belief that an institution must mediate between the masses and the government. Without a mediating institution, prior political theory maintains the masses will either prop up a tyrant or promote anarchy. Not the cool kind of anarchy. The Fallout 3 kind of anarchy. Not the Fallout New Vegas kind of anarchy, which is more interesting. More radical and populist theorists worry that the crowd is too disorganized to be capable of effective political action. For example, Lenin argued that riots constituted the proletariat's spontaneous resistance to capitalism. He chastised socialists who celebrated spontaneous acts by the working class because the spontaneous development of the working class movement leads to its becoming subordinated to the bourgeois ideology. According to Lenin, the crowd was incapable of accomplishing anything without the institution of the party. It's a bit worse than that, though. It's not that they were incapable of accomplishing anything. They were incapable of accomplishing revolution, and he was guardedly suspicious of the common man because their interests and their short-sightedness would infect the judgment of higher-level cadres, which is why he needed, like, these kind of monkish, professional revolutionaries to guide the party. In reflecting on her experiences in the Occupy Wall Street movement, Dean makes a similar argument. Left-wing social movements since the 1960s, such as Occupy, reveal a split between mob or people. Dean argues that, quote, the individualism of Occupy's democratic anarchist and horizontalist ideological currents undermined the collective power the movement was building. She asserts that the collective will of the crowd can only be transformed into political power through a political party. These thinkers argue that institutions such as the party turn the disorganized crowd into a people and transform the crowd's grievances into clearly articulated demands that can lead to political change. But I retort by reference to another fascist that I, for some reason, quote a lot, Robert Michel's Political Parties. Very good book, not authoritative. Take it all with a grain of salt, but very, very worth reading. One of the points that he talks about is how a consequence of forming a discrete political entity with its own internal structure, representing a broader movement, is that it now starts to take on a life of its own. It has, and by life of its own I mean something a little bit grimmer than that, it has its own self-interest to take care of. It becomes, in effect, conservative with respect to itself. It has to protect its funds. It has to protect the authority of its leaders. It has to protect the privileges of its members. It has to protect its capacity to engage in legitimate politics and so on and so forth. And so you run into a very odd state of affairs in which democratic parties become highly authoritarian and conservative parties become highly populist. This notion that becoming a political party would help Occupy fulfill its goals, I think is a little bit naive. The reverse might very quickly, in fact, far worse than the reverse. Not only the failure of it to realize its goals, but now a movement invested in ridiculing those who don't believe the party fulfills its goals. And so you basically cut off the possibility of fulfilling your goals by limiting the range of possible political actions by the movement to only one that doesn't work. Oh, hey, Daedalus, how you doing? Is that a danger with MAGA now that Trump's fangs are being pulled? I mean, that's always been Trump, though. That's why Trump wasn't at January 6th. It's why there's always a distance between the movement and the party. At whatever level of analysis you identify the party. Well, many theorists characterize the tumult generated by crowds as creating division in the polity. A counter-tradition celebrates disorder as a means of preserving freedom. Ah, yes, okay, this is getting good. In the Discourses, Machiavelli observes, quote, those who damn the tumults between the nobles and the plebs blame those things that were the first cause of keeping Rome free, and that they consider the noises and the cries that would arise in tumults more than the good effects they engendered, unquote. His point is that tumults, mass popular disturbances including riots, serve as an extra-institutional check on elites' power and ambition that is needed to preserve the freedom of the republic. Excuse me, Duck Nana. Good boy. Where is this? 242. It doesn't go that high. Hang on. Oh, 4-2. I see. Sorry, not 42. All right, this is Machiavelli's The Discourses. We're just going to read this section. All right. I think this is the correct section. Republics have taken 3 modes of expanding. This is from the Discourses of Livy. Or sorry, not the Discourses of Livy. The Discourses on Livy by Niccolo Machiavelli. Whoever has observed the ancient histories finds that republics have taken 3 modes of expanding. One has been that which the ancient Tuscans observed, being a league of several republics together, in which none was before another in either authority or rank. In acquiring other cities, they made them partners, in like mode, to do what the Swiss do in this time, and what the Achaeans and the Aetolians did in Greece in ancient times. Since the Romans made war with the Tuscans very often, I will expatiate in giving knowledge of them particularly to show the better qualities of this first mode. In Italy, before the Roman Empire, the Tuscans were very powerful by sea and by land. Although there is no particular history of their affairs, there is, however, some little memory and some sign of their greatness. It is known that they sent a colony, which they called Adria, on the upper sea, which was so noble that it gave the name to that sea the Latins still call Adriatic. It is also known that their arms were obeyed from the Tiber as far as the foot of the mountains that encircled a thick part of Italy. Notwithstanding this, 200 years before the Romans grew into much strength, the said Tuscans lost the empire of the country called Lombardy today. That province was seized by the French, who, moved either by necessity or by the sweetness of the fruit, and especially of the wine, came into Italy under their Duke Bellovices. I have no idea. Having defeated and expelled those living in the province, they set themselves up in that place where they built many cities. From the name they held then, they called that province Gaul, and held it until they were subdued by the Romans. The Tuscans thus lived without equality, and proceeded in expanding in that first mode set above. There were 12 cities, among which were Chiusi, Veii, Arezzo, Fiesole, Volterra, and the like, that governed their empire by way of a league. They could not go beyond Italy with their acquisitions, and even a great part of Italy remained intact for the causes that will be said below. Is this the right section? I think this is the wrong section. Hang on. Okay, so this is the Mansfield one. So the Mansfield and Tarkov edition of the Discourses cites Livy Book 2. Hang on, let's see. Oh, I think we're much earlier. Hang on. Yes, here we go. So 2, 4. I actually don't know where he's citing here. Is this attribution incorrect. Hang on, that's 1996. When was this one published? Might be an edition issue. 1996. See, it cites here 242, so I take that to mean page 16. Oh, I guess it is this edition, so I guess I could just go to page 16. Let's... Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is this attribution is wrong. This is 242. This is however is in volume 1. This is in book 1. So that's wrong. So he cited that wrongly. That's why I'm confused. Okay, anyway, sorry. That the disunion of the plebs and the Roman Senate made that republic free and powerful. This is the section we want. My apologies, people. Quote, I do not wish to fail to discourse of the tumults in Rome from the death of the Tarquins to the creation of the tribunes, and then upon some things contrary to the opinion of many who say that Rome was a tumultuous republic and full of such confusion that if good fortune and military virtue had not made up for its defects, it would have been inferior to every other republic. I cannot deny that fortune and the military were causes of the Roman Empire, but it quite appears to me that they were not aware that where the military is good, there must be good order, and two, it rarely occurs that good fortune will not be there. But let us come to other details of that city. I say that to me it appears that those who damned the tumults between the nobles and the plebs, blamed those things that were the first cause of keeping Rome free, and that they consider the noises and the cries that would arise in such tumults more than the good effects that they engendered. They do not consider. Oh, perfect. So we're actually getting into Machiavelli's... Machiavelli is really known for using medical analogies, specifically like humor. So the idea is society is basically built of these different forces that need to be in balance for it to be healthy, sort of like humors in a medieval understanding of medicine. Where you have like accounts for things like bleeding and whatnot. You have too much blood, you have too much bile, They do not consider that in every republic are two diverse humors, that of the people and that of the great, and that all the laws that are made in favor of freedom arise from their disunion, as can easily be seen to have occurred in Rome. For from the Tarquins to the Gracchi, which was more than 300 years, the tumults of Rome rarely engendered exile and very rarely blood. Neither can these tumults therefore be judged harmful, nor a republic divided that in so much time sent no more than 8 or 10 citizens into exile because of its differences, and killed very few of them, and condemned not many more to fines of money. Nor can one in any mode, with reason, call a republic disordered, where there are so many examples of virtue. For good examples arise from good education from good laws, and good laws from those tumults that many inconsiderately damn. For whoever examines their end well will find that they have engendered not any exile or violence unfavorable to the common good, but laws and orders in benefit of public freedom. If anyone said the modes were extraordinary and almost wild, to see the people together crying out against the Senate against the people, running tumultuously through the streets, closing shops, the whole plebs leaving Rome, all of which things frighten whoever does no other than read of them, I say that every city ought to have its modes with which the people can vent its ambition, and especially those cities that wish to avail themselves of the people in important things, venting, bleeding, etc. Among these, the city of Rome had this mode, that when the people wished to obtain a law, either they did one of the things said above, or they refused to enroll their names to go to war, so that to placate them, there was need to satisfy them in some part. The desires of free peoples are rarely pernicious to freedom, because they arise either from being oppressed or from suspicion that they may be oppressed. If these opinions are false, there is for them the remedy of assemblies, where some good man gets up who in orating demonstrates to them how they deceive themselves. And though peoples, as Tully says, are ignorant, they are capable of truth, and easily yield when the truth is told them by a man worthy of faith. Thus, one should blame the Roman government more sparingly, and consider that so many good effects would not have emerged from the Republic if not caused by the best causes. And if the tumults were the cause of the creation of the tribunes, they deserve highest praise. For besides giving popular administration its part, they were constituted as a guard of Roman freedom, as will be shown in the following chapter, which we will not read today. But Machiavelli is very good. Highly recommend. This is the Discourses on Livy. You really don't like this paper? I'm not a huge fan of this paper, I'm not going to lie. It touches on interesting material, but I'm disagreeing with most of it. According to Sinthe, I'm going to go with Sinthe. The crowd creates perfect equality through processes of de-individuation. Many classic crowd theorists describe the crowd as dangerous because it unleashes animalistic and primitive behaviors that are normally repressed by society. Freud, 1793. So that would be... I think he's referring to civilization and its discontents. Hang on, what? 1790... Wait a minute. Is that a different Freud? 1793? Huh? What? Canetti is a hard C? Okay. That has to... Something's fishy here. Freud was born in 1856. Why is there an attribution to 17... I must have gotten the year wrong. Hang on. That was published in 1921. Where are you getting 1793 from? Alright. This is in bad need of an editor. So apparently, according to Freud, how do you do that? Anyways, apparently, according to Freud, during the French Revolution, the crowd is dangerous because it unleashes animalistic and primitive behaviors. In Crowds in Power, Canetti upends this traditional understanding of the crowd in several ways. While not denying its potential for violence or its vulnerability to manipulation by a leader, he develops a theory of the crowd as fundamentally egalitarian and as the first source of justice. That's a weird-ass typo if that's what it is. It's not a page number. The book's not that long. Also, these are years. Look, Le Bon, 1896. McClellan, 1989. These are pages. This is the year. So he's attributing this paper of Freud to 1793. Anyways. Canetti argues that, quote, all demands for justice and all theories of equality ultimately derive their energy from the actual experience of equality familiar to anyone who has been a part of the crowd. Crowds, in Canetti's theory, are ontologically distinct from individuals. When an individual joins a crowd, they lose themselves and experience a sense of de-individuation. This de-individuation creates a radical equality and erases the numerous hierarchies through which societies maintain order. Canetti develops an elaborate typology of crowds to push back against the tradition in Western political thought that views the crowd as always prone to demagoguery and violence. His typology generates 280 distinct types of crowds. While Canetti does not, that seems too many to be useful, while Canetti does not directly discuss rioting, his theory identifies three virtuous traits of the crowd: its state of pure equality, its ability to issue demands outside of formal institutions, and its temporary undermining of social hierarchies. His nuanced account of the crowd recognizes both its potential for destruction and its capacity for justice. Finally, in contrast to many who argue that there can be no moral order in crowds, Arendt, Le Bon, several defenders of crowds have noted the orderliness of riots. Empirical studies of riots note the tendency of crowds to self-police. Rioting crowds tend to act in a manner that is commensurate with the grievance that triggered the event. The crowd's activity is neither capricious nor random. In 18th century England, crowds frequently protested against price gougings by raising a mob, quote-unquote, to visit the local farms and estates of the wealthy and demand that grain be sold to the poor at a reasonable price. Thompson notes how orderly such a crowd was in both the articulation of its grievance and its willingness to pay for the grain, so long as it was at a price the poor could afford. Workers, prior to the recognition of collective bargaining rights, would use mass protests to increase wages and protest high prices. Crowds of quote-unquote Luddites destroyed machinery to protect their jobs. Historians of crowd behavior have long demonstrated that crowds have their own moral economy, whereby mass protest is motivated by a norm violation by the authorities. Crowds tend to behave well in protests, limiting their actions to the target of their grievances, and are generally proportional in their responses to those grievances. The conventional reason for rejecting the crowd as a legitimate political actor... Marx 1970. So here's the thing. If it's a recent year, like well in advance of the... not well in advance, but well after the author's death, then that would seem... I would expect that refers to the publication date of the specific edition or translation that they're using. If it's before the birth of the author by a considerable length of time... it's a little weird. That's an error. The conventional reason for rejecting the crowd as a legitimate political actor is that it is irrational and does not operate through rational and deliberative institutions. Throughout the history of political theory, from Plato to Arendt... By the way, Arendt is a little bit like a reverse Hannah... or not reverse Hannah. A reverse Ayn Rand. Which is not to compare the two disfavorably to Arendt. Well, it is a little bit, actually. Arendt is a wonderful writer, and too wonderful a writer to actually be very careful about telling the truth when she writes. She narrativizes hard. Very cleverly. Very brilliant schema. Like, if you read... you can do worse in terms of like a general introduction to political theory. It's like your baby's first political theory. Than the human condition. But she will not adequately represent virtually anyone in that book. She will give you a very sophisticated reading, synthesizing them all together, but she won't be upfront about what she's actually doing. I don't care for this paper at all. Still, I was wrong to donate. The donation is for theory. It's not that you're going to like the theory. I'm not writing the paper. I haven't read it yet. The conventional reason for rejecting the crowd as a legitimate political actor... Throughout the history of political theory, from Plato to Arendt, and across the ideological spectrum, from Hobbes to Lenin, there has been a strong fear of the dangers of mob rule. The crowd either promotes anarchy or tyranny, or it is too disorganized to rule effectively. When we evaluate the counter-traditions that defend crowd action, however, we find 4 criteria by which we can assess whether a rioting crowd is behaving justly or unjustly. First, following Machiavelli, one key question to ask is, are the crowd's actions freedom-preserving? Secondly, following Canetti's defense of the crowd as a field of equality, a key question to ask is, do the crowd's actions promote equality? Thirdly, in the tradition of historians and sociologists of crowd behavior, such as Hobsbawm, Rude, Tilley, and Gary Marx, a key question to ask is, do the crowd's actions give voice to the grievances of the marginalized groups? Fourthly, following Thompson, a key question to ask is, are the crowd's actions orderly and self-policing? If an assessment of a crowd returns an answer of yes to all 4 questions, it is not promoting tyranny, key concern of elitist crowd critics, and it is certainly acting in a concerted way to bring about a political end, a key concern of populist crowd critics. While these considerations alone are not sufficient to justify a riot, they are necessary criteria to justify a rioting crowd's actions, which is a very bad line of argumentation. Because each one of these questions opens up just a world of interpretive wiggle room, so that virtually anybody can try to deploy a perversity thesis, try to imagine a scenario in which this action will lead at some level either of analysis or somewhere down the road in terms of time to the opposite of the crowd's goals. It's very easy to imagine such cases. A jeopardy thesis wherein they risk the freedom they've already gotten by sort of opening the floodgates to radical change, and so on and so forth. Rhetoric of Reaction by by Albert Hirschman. Very good. Highly recommend, if you want to know where I'm getting that language from. I agree with you, Brooks. I don't like this paper either. Sirius says, Present Sunday, I just got through the chapter of Seeing Like a State that talks about Lenin and his resentment of the masses and the particularity of their concerns, hence the need for a vanguard. Seeing Like a State is so good. It's up here. It has one of the ugliest covers and some of the best contents of any book of political theory written in the last 50 years, in my opinion. In English, I should clarify, before Brooks kills me. Let's see, how far does this go down? All right. In practice, the violence in riots tends to take three forms. Physical attacks on other people, vandalism of property, looting. Immediately raises two questions. Why is violence bad? Second, what could possibly justify these acts of violence by rioters? Because riots are violent political acts, they have an uneasy relationship with Western political theory tradition's normal understanding of violence. Fraser and Hutching observe that the dominant thinkers in the Western tradition perceive violence as related to politics instrumentally, either as a means to achieve political ends, such as in Clausewitz, Machiavelli, or Weber, or as antithetical to politics, as in Arendt and Rawls. Of course, Arendt and Rawls subsume the political to liberal deliberation, which is one of the reasons why Arendt and Rawls are going to be very hostile to someone much more robust like Schmidt. They also identify a counter-tradition that treats violence as creative and expressive. It's going to be like Sorel Fanon. These theorists view violence's role in politics as either expressive or constitutive of character and community. Benjamin, Fanon, there we go. Sorel, there we go. If you consider both the dominant and counter-narrative positions on the relationship of violence to politics, the idea of a just riot does not fit well into any of these categories. This is most obvious in Arendt's position, which maintains that the riot, because it is violent, not exactly. It's because it is violent instead of being powerful. She allows for violence, but anyways, because it is violent, is difficult to justify and impossible to legitimate. In the more conventional reading of violence as a means to achieve specific ends, a crucial issue is who may legitimately wield the instruments of violence. Normally, the state reserves that privilege for its agents, due to the fear that if just anyone is allowed to use violence to achieve their political ends, then the state's monopoly on violence breaks down. This is an inaccurate representation of the logic behind the special privileges afforded to state police, for example. There's not a fear of the monopoly of violence breaking down. There is no monopoly on violence. The state in modern times justifies itself by reference to having a monopoly of legitimate violence. This is crucial, because you had legitimate states for a very long period of time that had a diverse array of violent actors. Wealthy families had their own personal guards. Cultic orders had their own personal guards. Like these were heavily dispersed. Slave owners could employ slave catchers, which could sometimes double as night watchmen and firemen and things like that. We had a conversation about that with Loner Box and Eris a little while ago. It was very bad. Conversely, the counter-narrative tradition of violence and politics eschews questions of justification altogether. By the way, this is why those were not police, because police are specifically attached to a particular kind of state organization. It's why Pol is in the name. They're not just publicly funded. They are representatives of the state as essentially the state. They are the state, so to speak. Whereas Vigiles were not the state. Conversely, the counter-narrative tradition of violence in politics eschews the questions of justifications altogether. In this reading, the riot might be expressing the grievances of the rioter, or perhaps even constitute a new political entity. Saying Kennedy, but you could also deploy Hobbes here. Or be useful for fashioning a new sense of self, as in Fanon. I think this is the Wretched of the Earth. That link doesn't work. Okay, whatever. However, these political theorists do not consider the riot through the framework of justification. Critics of riots point to acts of violence committed by rioters as justification for condemning the riot. Could anything redeem this violence? Oh boy, here we go. The social contract tradition suggests that two criteria, which I call the grievance criteria, justify using violent means to resist or overthrow the government. Since rioting is less of a threat to the state's authority than an armed insurrection or revolution, although these bleed into each other and often an armed resurrection evolves from a riot, so the distinction is a little bit spurious, anything that would justify those more significant transgressions of state authority would also justify rioting. In order for the violence of the riot to be justified, the rioters must be motivated by a significant enough grievance that it justifies their use of violent protest. The other cover is good, the eye inside the box. I like the road cover. I think it's more appropriate to its actual contents. But both covers kind of suck. The eye inside the box, like the gray, is just ugly as hell. Should be a black background. I kind of want to skip ahead here, just because I'm not super impressed with this paper. Oh yeah, he's literally just... Okay. Oh, I don't like this. I want to read the conclusion here. We'll see if it's worth actually going through, because my throat is going. And I think I've been reading for about an hour now. Let's see. Yeah, pretty close. Political theorists do not consider riots as a legitimate form of political violence because they operate outside of the forming institutions, Considering these four forms of extra-institutionalism together, the fact that riots are extra-public, extra-state, extra-legal, and extra-parliamentary generates two conclusions. First, because there are widely accepted justified exceptions, to these institutions in other areas of political theory. These reasons can also apply to riots. Secondly, because a riot is extra-institutional in four ways, it needs to meet the criteria of a justified exception in each of these four institutions in order to be justifiable. This makes the threshold for justifying a riot potentially higher than other forms of political resistance. But, this higher threshold does not mean that no riots are justifiable. I have identified 11 criteria that can be used to assess the legitimacy of a riot. That's table 1 here. Oh, this is awful. Is it freedom preserving? Does the action promote equality or reinforce hierarchy? Does the action give voice to the grievances of marginalized communities? Okay, so, the number one problem here is that these are all conjectural. You can drum up a story about either. And ultimately, you can't predict the efficacy or the viability of any one of these aims. And these are all going to be... Well, it's going to be conjectural. I'm just repeating myself. So you can deploy a kind of Burkean perversity thesis very easily against this. And you can just declare that, no, it's not freedom-preserving because I've imagined X, Y, and Z situations in which it's not freedom-preserving. It's not equality-preserving because I've imagined X, Y, and Z conditions under which if this continues as it is for a certain given time, it will not promote equality, etc. This is bad. It doesn't understand... It's trying to take the extra-institutional and institutionalize it. I'll tell you the reason why there's no just riot theory. It's because the notion of justice itself is inherently conservative to a system. This is why Hobbes ends up fear-mongering ultimately over any type of rebellion as constituting an existential threat, because it is. Not riot, but any kind... Yeah, rebellion. Did I say rebellion? Say riot? I don't know. I'm losing it a little bit from oxygen deprivation. But, that's fundamentally the underlying problem here. If it's extra-institutional, institutionalizing it is to rob it of its nature. Okay, first, because there are widely accepted justified exceptions to these institutions in other areas of political theory. These reasons can apply to riots. That does not follow logically. Secondly, because a riot is extra-institutional in 4 ways, it needs to meet the criteria of a justified exception in each of these 4 institutions in order to be justifiable. This sentence here. Because there are widely accepted justified exceptions to these institutions in other areas of political theory, these reasons can also apply to riots. No, for the reason that a lot of them are justified by reference to the fact that there is a agent containing certain properties called the state that is engaging in these actions. Like, you can't have a just war by a mob. That's actually critical to the notion. It actually points to, by the way, the corruption of this notion of justice in these theories. Because it's not really talking about justice. They haven't discovered justice in the world. They're inferring a kind of synchronicity between the order of the state and the order of nature. It's an intrinsically conservative notion. Oh, I see what you're saying. You meant just riots. Okay, I see what you're saying. You thought it meant only riots. Why there is no only riot theory? Why does riot theory not have an OnlyFans yet? Anyways, these criteria are not intended to provide a simple checkbox exercise for assessing a riot. They should instead be used to reflect on the nature of individual riots on a case-by-case basis. Political theorists can use the criteria to determine whether an individual riot is justified or unjustified. But why? Why not just say it was beneficial, or it had a felicitous outcome, or it didn't? Why does it need to be justified? At a minimum, in order for a riot to be justifiable, it must offer legitimate reasons for disobeying each of the 4 institutions that are on par with the recognized forms of legitimate extra-institutionality and other practices of resistance, thereby implying that in order to resist institutions, it must abide by them, which is... yeah. The more criteria a riot satisfies, the more confident we can be that it was justified. Okay, here we go. The million-dollar question. Why would we need to make such a set of judgments? In the case of just war theory, at least in the ideal case, the argument about a war's justifiability should take place prior to its outset. Such a deliberation is unlikely in the case of riots. A just riot theory would instead provide a means of assessing the validity of a particular riot after the fact, which would allow us to determine the appropriate response to it. At a minimum, we need such theory to distinguish between riots after a sports team wins and those protesting police murders of unarmed citizens. Treating all riots a priori as illegitimate unfairly dismisses the grievances of the unheard and potentially denies some of the most marginalized members of society the ability to voice their concerns. Conversely, developing a vocabulary and theory of just riots would allow us to make judgments about whether particular riots were justified, how the authorities should respond to the rioters' grievances, and how individual rioters should be punished or excused for their actions. It is time for political theorists to stop ignoring the fact that riots constitute a form of politics and develop a just riot theory. This is a very bad article, and I can tell exactly why it's a bad article because of the heavy reliance on Arendt for more or less all of its normative content. This is essentially an Arendtian piece. It's not bad, but it's not actually groundbreaking. It's taking essentially an Arendtian attitude to the question of riots and trying to find a way to synthesize the unsynthesizable. That which is defined by its breaking of norms and that which is justified by reference to its abiding by norms. Yeah. Why can't we reverse this? Why not put the burden of proof on the institution instead? Well, exactly, Sirius. You've hit the nail on the head. Because this is fundamentally a statist piece. And this is one of the reasons why Arendt is not that great. Because she romanticizes the state by romanticizing politics in a way that actually robs politics of its contingent character. She talks about politics as if it makes better people out of people. There's something to this. There are certain capacities and certain virtues that you cultivate in a particularly healthy cultural context, as an active member of society vying for the greater good or something like that. But that should not then be taken as like a cookie cutter thing to say, this is how we produce a good outcome here. This is how we produce virtuous people here. This is how we produce well-to-do people here. Because once again, it's going to be acts of violence, creative and destructive, that give rise, as per Machiavelli, to these conditions in the first place, to make things like virtue possible. You needed riots in order to get a Solon, so that you actually had the institution of equality in Athens to even get a notion of politics in the first place. So, anyways. My voice is gone. I cannot speak anymore. I hope this was satisfying for you all. I'm going to call it for tonight. We've been going for 3 hours. I'm going to send you somewhere good, I hope. And tomorrow we are going to do the Bad Empanada video. All right. Thank you so much for your donations. Thank you for your likes and your viewership. I love you all. I'm going to send you to... Who's going? Who's live right now? Rico Rants is going, actually. Go say hi to Rico Rants for me. Steal some subs for the squids. Let us build this bridge, friends. Ciao.